And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Barclay versus Korn. Step forward.
Child care provider Mary Barclay is suing her former client, Marie Korn, for unpaid babysitting fees. Marie says Mary's home wasn't a safe environment for her children.
Miss Barclay, you were hired by Miss Korn to babysit for her children. And according to you, you had the following arrangement. She was receiving money from the state for child care, I gather, because of her income. And you were to receive money from the state to take care of the children. In addition, according to you, you claim that you had an agreement that if you babysat additional periods of time, she would pay you over and above what the state paid. It is your claim that you were paid by the state, but were not paid for the overtime that you worked for Miss Korn. That's what your case is about.
Yes.
And Miss Korn says that you were paid everything that was agreed upon, which was the amount of money that the state paid for babysitting, and she removed the children because of what she perceived to be inadequate care. Miss Barclay, do you babysit for a living? Do you have daycare facility?
I babysit other children in my home.
And how many children?
Probably 3. I watch my grandsons a lot.
How many grandsons do you have?
2.
And how many children did Miss Korn have?
2.
So you had 4 children in your house.
Mm-hmm.
When did you start to babysit for Miss Korn's children?
March 19th, I do believe.
And when did you cease babysitting for her?
August 10th, 2004.
How many days a week?
5 days a week.
What time to what time?
Her hours varied.
And did you fill out a timesheet for the state?
Yes, I did.
And were you paid according to that timesheet?
I was paid for the state's part.
What do you mean you were paid for the state's part?
The state only allows a certain amount of hours a month to be paid.
And how many hours is that?
180.
So it's about 8 or 9 hours a day. Is that right?
Or more.
Okay, so let me hear.
Well, I babysit a lot longer than that. She is responsible for anything that the state did not pay.
Show me your agreement with her, Miss Barclay.
We don't have a written agreement, but I told her that she was responsible for anything that the state did not pay.
And what did she say to you?
She said, okay.
Well, in the month of April of 2004, did you babysit more than the 180 hours?
Yes, I did.
Did she pay you any money?
No.
In the month of May, did you babysit for more than the 180 hours?
Yes.
Did she pay you any money?
No.
In June, did she pay you any money?
No.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. I paid a copayment.
She paid me $25, but not until July 9th.
What was the $25 for?
That was a copayment.
What is a copayment?
The state paid a certain amount, and I was responsible for $25.
Just $25? Mm-hmm. Is that what it says in your state contract?
That's what it said, yes. They sent me a form saying I owed her $25 for my copayment.
How much did you receive from the state each full month that you babysat for the children?
The most they would pay me was $594.
So $600 a month. Is that right?
Yeah.
And I assume you got the maximum each month.
Yes.
And at the same time, you were home with your 2 grandsons. Is that right? So you were home anyway and making an extra $600. Now, did you have an agreement with Miss Barclay to pay her money over and above what the state paid?
Yes.
And how much were you supposed to pay her?
I don't know. We asked her several times for a figure, and she never gave me the hours.
So when for the first time did she ask you for additional money?
About June.
And tell me about the conversation.
She said that she was having problems having her house payment, making her house payment, and she needed the extra money then, and asked me when I could pay it. My husband asked her for the hours that we owed her, and she did not give it to him several times. He asked her.
Did you have an agreement to pay her additional hours prior to June?
Yes.
So you owe her for the additional hours?
Not as much as she says.
Did you have her, Miss Barclay, for the months that you babysat, sign something at the end of each month indicating the number of hours that you worked?
Yes.
Can I see it, please?
I don't have that copy, but I have the receipt from the state that shows all the hours and the amount I billed and how much that...
Well, let me see.
Well, let's see. And here's a breakdown of it.
I don't want a breakdown. I want to see what the state sent you. That's very simple. Not what you wrote for this case, but what the state sent you. Oh, well, it's very easy because it says here parent amount. Okay. Since you acknowledge that you had an arrangement with her that you were going to make payments over and above what the state paid her for the time that she watched the children during the hours that you were supposed to be working, you acknowledge that.
Right.
And the state authorized certain payments, and you acknowledge that you were supposed to pay her what the state did not authorize. You owe her $1,315 unless there was a reason why you shouldn't pay it. Is there?
At the time, my kids were not in a safe environment. She was not just watching her grandchildren and my children. There was a 13-year-old there who was hitting and kicking my daughter.
When did you find out about that?
My daughter came home and had a bruise on her stomach.
When?
That was in June.
She continued to babysit, according
Yes,
to
she
this,
did.
until August. So one of your children came home with a bruise in her stomach, and you let her stay there?
As long as the 13-year-old wasn't there.
Well, when did you have a discussion with her about the 13-year-old?
She's the one that told me that she had let her do it because my daughter has a problem with her mouth.
No, I don't allow other kids to hit kids in my care, Your Honor. That is definitely forbidden with me.
I've seen it.
Well, listen to me.
Hello?
Listen to me. I can't believe that a normal parent, if she felt as if her children were being abused in your home, would leave your children there.
It happened once, Your Honor.
Well, then you didn't think it was so serious.
At the time, I thought my daughter had lied to me.
Well, then that's
what
not
I
a
thought.
reason not to pay her the money that you owed her.
But then when my husband asked her to account for the hours, she couldn't.
Well, now we
And
know
I-
that the state's accounted for the hours. Say anything?
Yes, I do.
Say it fast.
We'd like to say there was 3 or 4 times that the kids were dropped off at our house to the gentleman, our next-door neighbor, and he would just open our door and just let the kids loose. I mean, there was nobody there watching their kids at all, and that's towards the end when we finally found a different babysitter.
Why did you let your children go back there?
We didn't after
Well,
that.
yeah, we didn't after
We didn't
that.
You said there were 3 or 4 times. The first time somebody would drop off my children who were babies like this and just put them in a house would be the last time they would babysit. Why did you bring the children back there for it to happen another 3 times?
We don't have other options with a babysitter.
His mother...
I wanted to explain something to you. Let's keep our fingers crossed for these children.
Okay.
Okay, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,315.
You're excused. You may step out.
The state says we owe the money, then we owe the money.
I watched her kids a lot.
However, I would not put my kids at her home again.
If she'd had a problem, she would have taken the kids a long time
And I
ago.
certainly learned a valuable lesson.
She never once said anything to me.
I learned that I don't trust anybody with my children.
I don't know. It's rude. You don't go around doing that to people that watch your children.
Definitely pick my friends and my daycare providers a lot more carefully.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lee versus Cole. Step forward, please.
Teacher's assistant Adam Lee is suing his ex-neighbor, lifeguard Jacqueline Cole, for the return of his pet iguana, Xavier. Jacqueline says Adam abandoned his pet.
Mr. Lee, Miss Cole used to be your neighbor,
Yes, ma'am.
and it is your claim that the defendant has your iguana.
Yes, ma'am.
You want it back or the value of it?
I want him back.
She says, A, you abandoned it,
Yes,
and B, she thinks you stole it because she doesn't have it anymore. Miss Cole,
that is right. Also, he was never the owner.
where's the iguana?
I don't know, Your Honor.
For how long?
About 6 weeks.
Okay. So the issue is whether Miss Cole is responsible for your iguana. So let me find out how she got it. Why don't you tell me about it, sir?
Okay, on May 31st, 2004, me and my girlfriend Jill, we were leaving to go to Canada because her mom was ill. During that time, Xavier got out from the house and went missing.
Xavier is the...
iguana.
How big?
He's 4 foot long.
That's a very big iguana.
Yes, ma'am. He's 6 years old.
Okay.
And
He got out.
Yes. And when he went missing, we looked for him that night. We called animal control trying to get them, see if they'd had anybody report an iguana. They didn't, so we stopped looking for him that night. Came back the next morning, looked for him, couldn't find him. Felt that we needed to get on the road to go be with her mom. So when we got on the road, we were there a couple of hours when I got a call from Jacqueline or Phoebe, stating that...
Who was that?
Phoebe is Jacqueline's roommate at the time, girlfriend. And
So you knew each other?
yes, they're
Okay.
next door neighbors. So they stated at that time they would be happy to keep him while we were in Canada, and they would pet sit him. So it was like, okay, we think that was what's best for Xavier. So we decided to let him stay there until we got back.
When did you get back?
I got back in the beginning of January.
So you were gone for 7 months?
Yes, her mom was deemed terminal, so we stayed for longer than necessary. But I have proof where they said they would be happy to keep him as long as we needed him to.
Let me see the proof.
Okay. That's the proof where they said they would keep him as long as we needed him to.
Just a second.
Okay.
Okay. I assume, Ms. Cole, that you did send this that indicates we are happy, that's you and your roommate, to look after him, as long as Jill, I assume that's the girlfriend, needs us to. However, he's not going to fit with us long-term due to a trip that we have planned for next year, and just general moving around quite a bit before we settle down. Iggy is very loved and seems happy and healthy. He's getting greener, and we would be willing to look after him again, short or long periods in the future. You wrote that.
That's all true. When I first got the animal, he was severely dehydrated, malnourished. He was extremely nervous, defensive. He was a very upset animal, clearly stressed. He has massive scarring on his side. He's missing scales. I'll show you photos.
Can I see the photo, please?
Yes. He's missing 3 scales along his back, and the scarring, it's all indicative that this animal was not properly cared for and was actually abused.
Where did you find him?
After they left, yes, the following morning I stepped outside my door, I looked up, there is the profile of an iguana sitting on the roof. It's exactly where an iguana would be, in the sun, in the open, looking down on what was formerly his home.
Okay.
I was under the impression at that time that they were the owners, and that, yeah, I was happy to take care of the animal for them, and I was happy to give it back. As I started learning this information about what I just told you with the scarring and how this animal had been abused, I realized that these people were abusers. They committed animal cruelty, and it would not be, I could not in good conscience give it back to them.
Well, what made you think that, madam?
Did you see the scars?
I saw, but
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying to me. You don't know, A, when that happened. You don't know whether it happened when he got out.
No, the scars had been there for years.
Okay. Where's Jill?
Jill is in Florida. She's in school. She's in midterms right now.
Are you together?
No, we're separated right now.
Who purchased the iguana?
She did, about 6 years ago. But I've been paying for his care, and he has lived with both of us on the occasions when we've lived
Well,
together.
then, I'm sorry, Mr. Lee. If I would have known that, I wouldn't have wasted so much of
No,
my
ma'am,
time,
I have
sir.
proof that he is in a joint iguana where I've paid for his care.
Mr. Lee, if you had purchased the iguana, I would give you the value of the iguana, what you paid for it, because it's no longer there, maybe. But you didn't pay for it. So how am I to assess what your damages are, Mr. Lee? There is no way for me to assess what your damages are.
I don't want damages. I want the iguana.
She doesn't have it, Mr. Lee.
That's what she's claiming. I think that that's a false.
Well, it may be, but that's what your lawsuit is, Mr. Lee. Your lawsuit says you want the return or value of the iguana. I would be thoroughly prepared if you were the owner of the iguana to say to you, let me see what you paid for it, and I will reimburse you or direct her to reimburse you the value of the iguana. You are not the owner of it, Mr. Lee. Goodbye. Move on with your life, sir. You lived without the iguana for a year.
No,
you lived with it on and off for a year. It's over.
But I'm only asking for the
Goodbye.
return of the iguana.
Good luck finding him.
How does our excuse? You may step out.
I think they put it away somewhere until the court case was over, so we couldn't get ownership back.
He's never owned any iguana. He's managed to abuse this one terribly.
I really think she's just grown attached to the iguana and doesn't want to give it back up.
I changed the iguana's name because Xavier is a stupid name.
He was Xavier, you know. I mean, he was the best iguana, you know. I've met other ones and didn't like them as much as him.
I hope that he never gets any iguanas or any other pets because he's an abuser and he doesn't understand what he's doing. And it's just, I'm glad to have this disgusting person out of my life.
Barista Christine Otis is suing her ex-boyfriend, waiter Peter Manzoni, for his share of their credit card debt. Peter says Christine is not getting any more money from him.
Now, this is case number 563 on the calendar in the matter of Otis versus Manzoni. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Miss Otis, you and Mr. Manzoni have a child together. We're in a relationship, I assume, not married to each other, lived together for a period of time. According to your complaint, during the time that you lived together, you racked up a substantial credit card debt. And at the time that you separated, it was agreed, according to you, that you would take this substantial credit card debt and slice it in half, each of you assuming half of the debt. Card was in your name?
Correct.
That was probably your second mistake, so that all the debt would have been yours unless Mr. Manzoni agreed to pay half of it, which he did. He did pay for a while. He paid a substantial portion of it and then stopped.
That's right.
Mr. Manzoni says, I paid enough. That's pretty much your defense, right?
That's correct.
When did you separate?
Christmas of 2004. 2003, sorry.
1203. Do you have in that pile of material there the credit card bill as of December of 2003?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
It's 6 credit cards.
And they're all in your name?
All in my name.
Didn't he have any credit cards?
No, none.
Why
Peter
didn't you have any credit cards, sir?
I never had established credit.
So what happened, Mr. Manzoni? You paid, according to you, almost $4,000.
That's
what
correct,
happened?
Your Honor. I never agreed to split the credit card debt in half with Christine Otis. She and I had an agreement that I would pay back the debt that was solely spent for my purchases, things that I needed to get done or things that I come across where I needed some money.
How long were you living together?
We were living together roughly, give or take, 14 months.
Is what you're telling me that you used these credit cards for that 14 months that you were together for separate purposes?
We used some of the credit cards for joint things, dinners, foods, things of that nature. And then there was times where Christine used the money solely for herself. And then there was times, very few times, where I used the credit cards for myself. A couple things I needed to get taken care of, and I didn't have credit.
Like what?
I needed to get a tooth fixed. I needed to pay a parking ticket.
So how much were your bills in total, sir?
My total bills for the expenses that I accumulate were well under $2,500.
Well under?
Well under.
Your Honor, may I speak for a moment?
In a minute. Would you explain to me, Mr. Manzoni, if your bills were well under $2,500, and you just told me that that's what you agreed to pay, things that were specifically for you, and that's what you agreed to give her. So that's what you're telling me?
That's correct.
Then can you tell me why, in this sworn deposition, you paid her $3,575, substantially more than the $2,500 that you alleged that you owed? That's a question, so it requires an answer.
The reason why I did that, Your Honor, was because I did know Christine was struggling at the time of our separation. She did need money for the credit cards, and she did not have a stable income at the time. And I felt that it was fair that it would be okay for me to spend $275 a month. I didn't have an exact number in my head, but I had a year time that I was going to pay her money. It just equated to that amount.
Does that sound like a lot of double talk to you?
Just a little.
After you left, Mr. Manzoni, how much support were you sending her? Does she have custody of the child?
No, we have no custody matters, Your Honor. We just split the baby.
Who does the child live with?
It's 50-50.
He stays with me 5 nights a week.
How much child support do you pay, sir?
That's a little misleading, ma'am.
I'm just asking you a question.
I pay no child support. I have my son 50% of the time. I have him from 5 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon.
How many days a week?
Monday through Friday. And I have him also Monday night and Tuesday night all day, all night.
Okay, so you watch him while she works?
That's correct, ma'am.
How do you pick him up?
I drop him off and pick him up.
She works in the we live very close in the downtown area.
And what kind of work do you do?
I work nights at a restaurant. I'm a waiter.
So you've worked it out reasonably?
Correct.
What kind of work do you do?
I am a coffee barista.
A what?
A coffee barista. I own a little coffee stand downtown San Diego.
I never heard of it. A coffee barista?
That's right.
What does that mean?
It means I make coffee.
I make coffee too, but I didn't know it was a profession. Coffee barista. Who are you, sir?
Your Honor, I'm an attorney, and at the time that they split, a mutual friend asked if I would talk to the two of them.
What's your name?
Dean Janis.
Did you talk to Mr. Janis?
I believe yes.
You did?
Yes.
At the time of your separation?
Yes.
Did you both speak to Mr.
Yes.
Janis? So at the time you were trying to mediate a resolution?
Correct, Your Honor. I was asked to give them my impression of what I thought their legal responsibilities would be.
So that each of them knew that you were not representing either one, you were there merely to give advice.
Correct.
I did not know that, Your Honor. I thought she had sought legal help.
Okay, so you thought that this was her attorney?
Correct.
Oh, perfect. So you're not violating any privilege that he might later claim, right?
That's correct.
It was the wrong answer, Mr. Manzoni. See, if you had said to me, I thought he was representing me, then you could say, listen, I don't want him to breach any confidence. That's privileged information.
Oh, I changed my answer.
Well, you can't. Too late.
All right.
Too late. Gotta be quick.
All right. Next
Gotta be
time.
quick. Next time. You see? And you don't mind him, I assume, relating the conversation that you have because he thought he was your lawyer. There we go. See how perfect it is, Mr. Janis?
Wonderful.
People are constantly stepping on their own ties.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Notice says her ex-boyfriend Peter Manzoni owes for half of her credit card bills. Peter says he's paid what he owes.
Now, tell me about the conversation that you had.
Well, Your Honor, they had several different issues at stake, but the relevant point, I believe, Your Honor, is that during our conversation, he admitted to me that all of the debt on the credit cards was incurred for their joint living expenses, and he indicated to me on the phone with Christine that he was going to pay her for half of that plus any interest that accrued.
Your Honor, that conversation never took place, and that doesn't make any kind of sense, what he just said.
It makes perfect sense to me, Mr.
Well, to me, that's the first time I've ever even heard agreeing upon splitting the debt 50-50.
Just a second. It makes perfect sense to me, Mr. Manzoni. That's what she says. You had accrued during the course of the 14 months you were living together when you had no credit card debt in excess of $15,000. Now you're separating and you're trying to work out an amicable resolution because you have a child together and two civilized people decide to speak to an attorney just to talk, if you can't talk between yourselves, to talk to a third party about certain issues so that you can resolve this. And certain of your issues you did resolve very well. You managed a co-parenting situation which allows each of you to work, to support yourself, and to pay half the support for your child. The only outstanding issue was this $15,000 debt that could encumber one person for a very long time or two people for half the time. So what Mr. Janis says makes perfect sense to me.
Your Honor, like I said earlier, the debt is not solely $15,000 between us.
Just a second. You said you paid a dental bill.
And I paid Christine Otis back for that money.
That's with part of the money that you say you paid out of this $3,725, right?
That's correct.
You didn't say as soon as you got the dental bill, here, in addition to anything that I might owe you on the card for our joint dinners and going out and trips that we might take and anything else, here's the $750 for the dentist. That's totally separate.
No, ma'am, I absolutely did say that.
Oh, I don't believe that for a second, Mr. Manzoni.
At the time, I was paying all the bills.
Not for a second.
Your Honor, I was paying all the bills, making all the credit card payments, making the truck payments, and paying the rent. I was paying everything. Christine was just spending money like a loose cannon, not me. Everything's in her name. I never forced her once to buy anything.
That's what happens, my dear, when you live together and play house. In any event, I find that you did, in fact, at the time that you separated, agree to pay half the amount of money that was accrued on the credit card. You did pay $3,575. I assume you have proof that you paid that, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Let me see it.
Well, it's just a piece of paper that Christine and I have had a joint statement account.
Let me see it.
Her paper actually has a lot less writing on it. It might be a little better for understanding. But it is the same paper.
Why are you showing me this paper, sir?
Because that's the paper that we had established, that I had made payments for the last 13 months.
So, Mr. Manzoni, what I don't understand is you start off with a balance on both of your pieces of paper of about $7,500.
I don't understand.
What do you mean you don't understand? What word didn't you understand? You started out with a balance. So she's claiming that you each started out with $7,500 that you were supposed to pay off. That's the evidence that you just gave me, that you were supposed to start out paying $7,500, and you say...
She just made that calculation on a computer. She just put those numbers on that piece of paper. She could have put any number on there.
This is your evidence. You just handed it to me.
That's her evidence to say, that's the evidence she gave me that I paid, Your Honor.
So you're making a big mistake. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,925. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy did what she thought was fair. She thinks that I still owe Christine Otis another $3,900 or so.
I think it was fair, and you know, I came here to get my money back, and I guess that's what I did.
We had never made an arrangement of paying half the debt. That's what I couldn't get across to Judge Judy.
He just decided he didn't want to pay anymore, and that was it.
We did pay a lot of bills together.
Maybe he's not happy that I'm doing so well for myself.
And then also just foods, and we also had some medical expenses, things of that nature.
I would think that he'd be happy, and I'm not sure. I guess he's not.
If I had to pay, I had to pay. That's all.
But we don't really have a choice. We have a 2-year-old together, and I just, yeah, we have to see each other every day, so there'll never be an end.
Kenneth Keaton is suing 26-year-old craftsman Dustin Snow for assaulting him after he caught Dustin picking avocados from his tree.
Yeah, this is case number 545 on the calendar in the matter of Keaton versus Snow. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
Mr. Keaton, according to your complaint, sir, you are a property owner. You own a home.
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
And on your property, amongst other things, there's an avocado tree.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm a city girl. I didn't even know how avocados came, whether they were hatched or grew on a vine, but now I know. Avocados are generated in trees.
Correct.
According to what I read, Mr. Snow here was stealing your avocados.
That's correct.
Shh. No. You have to be quiet. Was stealing your avocados, and during the course of this altercation, he assaulted you.
Yes, he did.
And injured you.
Correct.
You want to be compensated for that.
That's right.
For that injury. Mr. Snow, while he acknowledges that he was stealing your avocados, sort of, says that you provoked this incident by throwing one of the avocados at his girlfriend who was sitting in the truck. Now, Mr. Snow, I'm going to start with you. You were, in fact, taking avocados from a tree that belonged to Mr. Keaton.
Yes, Your Honor.
I would like you to describe to me how you were doing that.
I actually was driving down the street, and I pulled up under the tree, which actually hangs over the street. I have pictures I could show you as well.
Where are they?
They're right here, Your Honor.
Good. What were you driving down the street in?
A Dodge truck.
Where were you going?
I take care of a mentally disabled person. I was going down to just acquaint with him and take him out to breakfast.
Where does he live?
About 8 houses down from Mr. Keaton.
So you pass this property regularly?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many times have you taken property from Mr. Keaton?
Your Honor, I took it one time prior. I had taken avocados, and
how many did you take?
I'd say around 20, 25.
What did you do with them?
Made guacamole, Your Honor.
Well, you took them because you took them because you felt that you were entitled to take them because the branches hung over into the street. Is that what you're telling me?
Somewhat, Your Honor. It was really easy for me to stand in the back of my truck. I didn't get out and climb into his tree from his property. I merely parked my truck in a legal manner and stood in the back and reached up and picked the avocados.
Okay. Did you know it was the wrong thing to do, sir?
Yes, I did. Very stupid.
So you knew it was stupid?
I knew it was stupid.
And you knew it was wrong. Now, on what date did this altercation take place, Mr. Snow?
Ma'am, I don't recall.
Mr. Keaton?
I know exactly the date, Your Honor. February 29th, 2004. It was a Sunday morning, about 10:30.
Now, you were going to see this person that you take care of?
Yes, ma'am.
On your way there, you decided to stop by and get some avocados?
It was a rather spontaneous event. I just kind of was driving down the street. I saw him up there, was thinking guacamole. Didn't think it was much of a big deal. I didn't think it would blow up into this and get us out of control as it did.
But you didn't just take 1 or 2 avocados, Mr. Snow, did you?
No, I think I probably had about 20.
Tell me how you got them.
I pulled under the tree and I stood in the back of my truck and I was pulling them off. And I had actually, there was a branch hanging down so low that I climbed up into the tree.
This time you actually...
So yeah.
This time you actually trespassed...
From my truck, I grabbed a branch and I climbed into the tree and I was picking them off and throwing them onto his grass, actually.
Now, Mr. Snow, let's say you're walking along the street and you can pick your hand up and you can pull down an avocado. Still, it belongs to somebody else, but you're taking one. But you didn't take one, you were a pig.
Yes, ma'am, I was a pig.
Oh, yeah, can't even walk up a sweat with this guy. Perfect.
Happens sometime.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so you're home and you hear something going on outside. You walked outside. What did you see, Mr. Keaton?
Well, actually, I didn't hear anything outside. I had a job to do for a friend across town. I was going to cut some tree roots out and remove a stump for this lady.
This is not particularly germane to the case, what you were going to do across town?
No, but it's setting up the point that I'm walking to my truck with my tools to put into the truck. His truck was partially blocking the driveway with his passenger sitting in the front seat. And as I decided, well, I better ask her to move the truck, it started raining avocados from my avocado tree. And that's when I noticed Mr. Snow in the top of the tree, but I'd say at least 16 to 20 foot high into the tree, standing on branches, leaning on others, picking avocados as fast as he could. And at one point, I thought it might be necessary to retrieve his license plate number. By the time I got to the back of the vehicle, he was coming thumping down onto the grass, jumped out of the tree. How far he jumped, I have no idea. I'm surprised he didn't hurt himself. But I indicated that he had not seen or paid attention to my 3 no trespassing signs.
What did you say to him?
I told him to get the hell out of my tree.
Okay.
And if you would like to see some of the signs that I have here that depict what was right in line with the cab, not only of where he parked or where his passenger was sitting, they're clearly marked.
Keep off the tree. Keep going.
And then at that point, he did offer $3 for...
No. So far you told him to get out of your tree, and he did.
Yes,
so
and
let's go back to the conversation. Get out of the tree. You heard him jump down from the tree. Then what happened next?
Well, I think I demanded payment at 50 cents a piece for those avocados.
Exactly. What did you say? If you remember, tell me what you said.
I know I asked him for 50 cents a piece for the avocados. He did bring his wallet out and says, I can offer you $3. That's all I have. I says, you've really picked more than you can afford to pick. And I think maybe this is time where you should meet the sheriff department. Well, he slowly bent down and decided, well, I'm going to pick your effing avocados, old man. What are you going to do about it?
Is that what he said to you?
Absolutely.
Is that what you said to him?
No, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Seth Keaton says he was assaulted by Dustin Snow after he caught him stealing avocados from his tree.
Go ahead.
There's no way I jumped 20 feet out of the tree.
Okay, so you jumped out of the tree because you knew you were doing something wrong.
I knew I was doing something wrong,
Okay,
so I got down to confront him, and I was very rational and patient with him. I said, okay, I'm sorry about this. I said, well, what do we do here? Because I don't want any trouble. He said, you leave your truck and your girlfriend here, and you walk your down to the bank, and you get me 50 cents for every avocado.
Well, so far he didn't know that you didn't have enough money to pay him.
Well, so he didn't know. He didn't know. Yeah, this was...
No, just a second.
About 15 minutes.
Just a second. So you must have taken out your wallet and went to give him some money and said, this is all I have.
Yeah, because I didn't want any problems.
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
And he said, well, that's not going to do it. You picked 20 avocados. And then, according to you, he said, well, you're going to leave your truck and your girlfriend and you go to the bank and get me some money.
Walk. He wanted me to walk.
Walk. Right. Like you were climbing the tree. He wanted you to walk to the bank.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. What happened next? Come on. I'm still waiting for a rebuttal to what he says that you told him that day.
About the effing avocados that he said?
Yes.
I don't recall saying that at all.
What do you recall saying to him?
I recall being very rational and patient with him, saying, hey, look, buddy, I don't want any problems. I pulled out my wallet and said, look, this is all I have is $3. I'll even leave this. I made a pile of them right there on his property. I set them aside. I said, here's your avocados. Here's $3. I'm not going to leave my girlfriend in my truck here, walk however many miles to the bank.
I absolutely agree with you. Go ahead.
And I said, he had my driver's license number. If he needed to get the police going into it, he could have.
So what'd you do next?
After that point, it got kind of stupid. We were sitting there just saying, okay, well, you do this, you do this. I said, I'm not doing it. I went back and forth. I said, okay, that's enough. I looked at my girl. I said, sweetheart, we're going to get out of here. I might have said, let's get the F out of here. Might have used a bad word. Walked around to the front of my truck to get into my truck.
By that time, you were in the...
we were on his front lawn. I put the avocados in a pile.
You walked to get into the driver's side of your truck.
Right, I went around the front of my truck.
Did you open the door?
Yes, I just got to open the door.
And where is he?
He is sitting directly point blank in front of the passenger, which is my girlfriend.
Okay, so he's sitting there.
Oh, not sitting, standing.
He's standing.
Right in front of the pile of avocados that I had made for him.
Okay, good. And you had the door open.
And I said, this is enough. This is stupid. He's got our license plate. He can call the police and make a report if he wants.
Fine.
We're out of here.
And
we're out of here.
Keep going.
And then as soon as I went and opened my door, I hear loud thumps. And I look across, and I kind of look through the console of the car. And there was at least 3 avocados, at least 2, probably 3 thrown. I have dents in my truck. It was point blank at my girlfriend. I have pictures of the dents if you would like to see them.
I'm more interested in seeing the picture of your girlfriend.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
No. I'm more interested in seeing the picture of your girlfriend's injury, because that's what you say. You say she was injured.
No, she got hit. We didn't go to the hospital or anything. She wasn't hurt. She was hit, but not hurt.
Okay, keep going.
She kind of put her hands up to defend herself.
So that didn't hit her?
Well, one hit her, yes.
Where? In the hand?
In the arm, yeah.
You believe. Okay, keep going. Keep going.
So I went around the front of my truck, and, you know, he was assaulting my girlfriend. He brought violence into the situation.
Just keep going, sir.
So I ran towards him, and I grabbed him by the back of the legs around his knees, pulled his feet out, and just put him on his butt. Now, Your Honor, I'm a very strong man. I could have done a lot of damage to this fella, but I kept my wits about me, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to beat up on this old guy. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want any of this. I wanted to leave.
Why didn't you leave?
Because he's pelting me and my girl with avocados.
Take you 2 seconds, get into the car, close the window, and leave. Take you less time to do that than close the door, walk around the truck, and pull his legs out from under him.
I didn't feel like fleeing, Your Honor.
You didn't feel like not fleeing,
no.
Leaving.
Well, after he's pelting avocados in my truck, that wouldn't be very smart of me.
Oh, it would have been very smart of you.
Why?
Why? I usually don't answer questions, especially questions that are stupid, but I'm going to answer your question, sir, because according to what you just told me, this situation that was instigated by your criminal activity had begun to escalate into violence. And smart people, when they are faced with a situation of escalating violence, extricate themselves from the situation. Do not put themselves into the situation with gusto.
Most people don't, but I did.
Then you're responsible for his injury, sir.
Even though he started with the violence.
You didn't start it, sir. You broke the law. You trespassed on his property. And to be quite honest with you, Mr. Snow, he didn't hit your girlfriend. According to you, according to what you said in your answer, which is different from what you're saying now. You said he threw one through an open passenger window from point-blank range and hit my girlfriend.
Yes, he did.
Bull.
Bull?
Bull. That's exactly what I said to you.
As bull? Bull what?
As in baloney. You did the wrong thing, and you're a smart aleck.
No, I admit to doing the wrong thing.
Twice. Not once, but twice. Because aside from committing a crime, it's not a major crime, but you were a pig. Because if you wanted to go to this handicapped person's house that you were taking care of and bring him an avocado, then you take 2 avocados, maybe 3. You don't climb up.
You ever made guacamole, Your Honor? You need several.
Listen to me. I allowed you to ask me one question, which I answered. You only get one opportunity. Why don't you try listening? Your activity that you acknowledge you knew was wrong precipitated an incident, and somebody else was injured. Not her. Not her. And it was a situation that you could have extricated yourself from in a second. You chose not to do that. So you chose to violate this man's property, not once but twice. You chose to stay in the situation because you could have left. No question. You could have left. He had your plate number. You were getting into your car. Take off. Go to the police. Say, listen, I was trespassing on this man's property, stole his property, but then he did what he shouldn't have done. He threw avocados, and my girlfriend had to deflect there because one of them almost came in the window.
It did.
Baloney.
Baloney? You weren't there.
Baloney.
How do you know that?
Your Honor, I have some doctor's reports and bills and also pictures of my injuries. And I also have retained an attorney for the criminal charges that were finally dropped.
How's your arm now?
I do have pain in it from use, like using a weed eater or a hammer to, build my little birdhouses or something like that. And sometimes it turns all white, the skin, because there's so much pain.
Did you ever see the photographs of his injuries, sir?
No, ma'am.
Well, I'd like you to take a look at them. This is what just started with your criminal activity, Mr. Snow.
There was also more taunting by the time I got myself picked up off of the curb that I landed on to cause those type of injuries to my wrist. If he denies about making jaunts or gestures, he continued this taunting at the back of the truck where I was trying to catch my breath.
There's no question in my mind that he's a smart aleck.
No.
No question in my mind. He thought the whole big deal was nothing, should have just let it go. How long have you been with him?
2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Your Honor?
Yes.
There's also police reports that go into his past where it was still on probation at the time he did this assault on me, to where he had probably on probation for aggravated assault anyway.
Is that true, Mr. Snow?
No, ma'am.
Were you on probation at the time of this incident?
No, ma'am. Not to my knowledge.
What does that mean? Had you been convicted of a crime?
No.
Well, then the answer would be absolutely not. You couldn't have been on probation or parole because you've never been convicted of a crime.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
You have proof to the contrary, Mr. Keaton?
Yes, here's
I'd just like to see it with regard to his credibility.
The Department that probably would make a lot more sense to you, and you can find what you're looking for.
Let's take a look.
There are several pages of different arrests and court cases that's been settled. I'm sorry.
Well, he's got a problem with alcohol. How many DUIs do you have, sir?
1, Your Honor.
Convicted?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, what do you think a DUI is?
Driving under the influence.
It's a crime. And you were sentenced to 3 years probation.
How long ago was that?
Why are you asking me questions? What difference does it make? I said, well, you want probation? You I don't know. I don't think so. Not to my knowledge. Were you ever convicted of a crime? No. Well, then you couldn't have been on probation.
Well, I believe it was 98. That's why I asked you that.
What difference does it make, sir? You're playing with me.
You said 3 years, correct?
You're playing with me, sir. I asked you if you were ever convicted of a crime. You were convicted of battery. Misdemeanor battery. 3 years probation, 1 day in jail. Remember that?
Yes.
When was that?
I don't recall the date.
You had arrested as a juvenile too, Mr. Snow?
I don't recall.
There was 1 conviction for DUI, but it covered 3 cases. That sound familiar, sir?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Snow,
yes,
it looks to me, sir, as if for the past couple of years at least, you have remained out of trouble.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the matter? It was too long a period for you?
No, ma'am.
I mean, I look at this and I see that you had trouble in 98, 99, 2000, 2001, and probably as a juvenile, because your juvenile records probably is sealed in this county, but it certainly indicates that you had a history as a juvenile. And then all of a sudden, a couple of years, you do just fine. Maybe it's her influence on you. Who knows? She said you've been together a couple of years, so maybe she's a good influence on you. What would prompt you to do something so stupid, sir?
Guacamole.
Well, that's pretty stupid.
That's what I say.
That's pretty stupid. Then I would think twice, madam. If his love for vegetables interferes,
it's a fruit, Your Honor.
If his love for fruits and vegetables interferes with his good judgment, then I would think twice about hooking my star to his wagon. Checking for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I feel that the injury and the pain is well beyond the $5,000.
She's a pretty mean woman. She's pretty aggressive.
I depend on those avocados off the tree to help a senior citizen pay his house taxes.
Well, the thing is that he brought the violence to bring, to start it with by throwing them.
I did get loud and obnoxious because I wanted some neighbor to come to my aid.
I was ready to leave and say, hey, here's your stupid avocados. I'm out of here.
When he bent down and started throwing more avocados in the back of the truck, to me that was strong-arm robbery.
Come around, I dumped him on his, That's the way you treat a guy like that.
I'm just happy it's over with. It's the pressure off my mind.
Just some expensive guacamole, that's all.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Brooks versus Collins. Step forward, please.
21-year-old warehouse worker John David Brooks is suing his former friend, 24-year-old service repairman Eric Collins, for wrecking his quad runner.
Mr. Brooks, you are the owner of an off-road vehicle. Mr. Collins was an acquaintance of yours. It is your claim that he rode your off-road vehicle without your permission and wrecked it. Mr. Collins acknowledges that he rode the vehicle, but he says the brakes were defective and he injured himself. He has medical bills. He is going to take his lawsuit against you to the Supreme Court, where he can sue you for a lot more money. That's what your answer is. Is that right?
Correct.
Good. Do you have a lawyer?
No, I don't.
When did this happen?
September the 28th, 2004.
What are you waiting for?
To pay my lawyer some more money.
Mr. Collins, you don't see stupid written across here, do you?
No, ma'am, I don't.
The kind of suit you are alleging is a suit in negligence. Lawyers do not accept money up front for that. What they do is they work on a contingency, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have a lawyer that's charging you a fee?
Of course.
What is this lawyer's name?
I'd rather not say.
I'd rather you would.
Gerald.
How much have you paid him so far?
Not pertaining to this case here.
This case here, Mr. Collins.
Which I did not put a counterclaim against him. He put one against me.
What part of the English language don't you understand, Mr. Collins? I asked you, how much money did you pay your lawyer so far?
I have not paid him a dime pertaining to this case.
Correct. I assume he's represented you with regard to other matters in the past, Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
Collins? How old are you, sir?
24.
What kind of matters has he represented you on, Mr. Collins? Is not an answer.
Just minor charges.
Criminal matters.
No.
What are you looking at him
matters.
for? What are you looking at him for? You didn't think that coming here was going to be a picnic, did you, Mr. Collins?
No, ma'am, I did not.
I'm not known as the picnic lady.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
When you do something wrong, you're supposed to take responsibility for it.
Of
then
course.
you can put a period and move on with your life and be a productive citizen.
Yes, ma'am.
As opposed to making excuses for why you do not accept responsibility and trying to give me a lot of who shot John. What is an off-road vehicle? Is not an answer.
The ATV, all-terrain vehicle.
That is a vehicle that is to be ridden off the
Street.
Now, you allowed someone else to borrow your all-terrain vehicle. Who was that? Raise your hand.
Jason.
That would be you.
Yep. Yes.
You borrowed Mr. Brooks's all-terrain vehicle because you were going duck
To a dove shoot?
dove shoot.
Yes, ma'am.
Did they ever do anything to you?
No.
And Mr. Brooks allowed you to take the ATV. Is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you brought it back, and it was in good condition.
Yes, ma'am.
And then what did you do with it?
I didn't do anything. I brought it back to my house, and David was supposed to come back and
That's
pick it
David.
up. Yes, ma'am.
David was supposed to come back and pick it up.
Yeah.
Yes.
He came by that night that Eric wrecked it. He had a trailer.
Just a second.
Oh.
You ran by that very quickly. He came by that night and you said, Eric, that would be him.
That's correct.
He wrecked it. Mm-hmm. Well, how did he get his hands on it?
Well, it was left at the house that we were
No,
renting.
you left it at the house. You borrowed it,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you leave it?
In the garage.
Was he at your house, Mr. Collins?
Yeah, well, he was living there at the time.
Did he ask you if he could use it?
No, ma'am.
So he took it without
Mission.
Right, Mr. Collins?
Right.
And what happened when you took it without permission, Mr. Collins?
Well, took it around the block.
Why looking at me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
We took it around the block.
Not we. You.
I took it around the block. Brakes failed. Hit a brick wall. Woke up in the middle of the road with a crushed hand, dislocated knee, and a concussion.
It's a good thing that this is a G-rated show. Otherwise, I would say something like something happens. You take things without permission, sir. So I would suggest you save your money for your lawyer because you have no case.
Okay.
It would be like you saying, you know, I saw that Rolls Royce just sitting in the middle of the road. And I've never gotten behind the wheel of a Rolls Royce before. So the door was open, and I got in, and the key was on the floor mat. So I took the key and I started it, and took it for a ride, and the brakes failed, and I wrapped up the car, and I was hurt. And then you turn around and sue the owner of this old Rolls Royce because the brakes were bad. What do you think about that?
Well, what could I say?
What could I say, sir? You took Mr. Brooks's property without permission and you wrecked it.
Yes,
when
ma'am.
you wreck it, you pay for it. Does that sound right to you?
Well, yes, ma'am.
Now he's got the drill. See how easy that was?
Like a bird's nest on the ground.
May I see a photograph of your ATV, sir? Did you get this fixed?
No, man, I totaled it out I had the estimate, and I could have bought a new one for as much as it would have cost for the parts.
Well, how much did you pay for this one?
I paid $1,800 for it.
When?
I believe it was January last year. After that, I probably put about $600 into it, a new exhaust, tires.
You're suing him for $1,680. How come?
That's about what the worth of it was at the time.
Mr. Collins?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm coming back to you for a moment, sir. You got on the all-terrain vehicle and you took it out of the garage.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I didn't.
Sorry about that.
You took it out of the garage.
That's correct.
And you were going to just take it for a spin around the street?
Yes, ma'am.
This was on a street, right?
Actually, it was a boulevard, but, you know,
it's a boulevard,
same thing.
Where the ATV was not supposed to be ridden, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So it's supposed to be ridden on all-terrain except city streets, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So aside from taking it without permission, you were breaking the law.
Yes, ma'am.
How far did you get with it?
Not very far.
Well, how far?
Quarter of a mile.
Sir, that's the most expensive quarter-of-a-mile ride you will probably ever have. It's going to cost you $1,680. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I guess the law is the law, and that's about the plainest way to put it.
I went back next day after the wreck to pick it up.
I took myself to the hospital.
He was pretty hurt. He was in the bed.
I was lucky to be alive.
You know, he made a couple payments and it stopped.
Well, you know, David's my friend. When he was, hopefully, you know.
I mean, yeah, we can squash it now. You know, it's done.
Don't ride them if it don't belong to you.
7-year-old Keoki Willis is suing custodian Shalia Batchelor for reimbursement for her child's living expenses. Keoki says she's been raising Shalia's daughter for 4 years.
All rise.
Now this is case number 597 on the calendar in the matter of Willis versus Batchelor. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Miss Willis, you've been taking care of Miss Batchelor's daughter for years.
Yes.
She first came to live with you because you were married to her father?
Yes.
He's in prison?
No, he's just not around at all.
Left.
Gone.
And you have how many children with him?
None.
You have children of your own?
I do, right.
But he brought this child into your home?
Right.
When?
August 28th of 2000.
How old is she?
She's 11. She'll be 12 in June.
And you've been taking care of her ever since?
Solely.
When did your husband leave?
In 2002.
Where were you?
In Washington State.
What were you doing there?
I live there.
What you want, Miss Willis, is you want support for this little girl from her mother, because you've been taking care of her, according to you, with no support from her mother.
None.
Ball's in your court, madam. I'd like to hear you.
I have evidence here of money order receipts as well as a letter that I wrote. I have package receipts that I've mailed packages to
I'm not
her.
interested in packages.
Okay.
Forget packages. Packages are not support.
Okay.
How much support have you sent for your daughter since 2002?
There's one for $150 here.
Give me just a second. I have to do this. $150. Go ahead.
There's one here for $30.
$30.
One for $100. One for $150. And one for $50.
Who were those money orders made out to?
They were made out to her father. Only one of them was made out to Oki.
She's never made one out to me.
What was the date of the last one?
September 8th, 2003.
Okay, since September 8th, 2003, you have sent no support for your daughter.
Not cash.
Well, that's all I'm interested in, is cash. How do you support yourself? With
Work.
packages?
No.
Your boss at the end of the week give you packages?
No.
Well, at the end of the week, your boss gives you money.
Right.
Well, that's support. That's what people barter in this country. You give them dollars, and they give you bagels and lox, and milk, and chopped meat, and chicken. You know, that's how we survive in this country. How did you expect your children to survive since September of 2003?
I felt like that was her father's responsibility.
Wrong.
So I sent her to him. He said that he would take care of her, and obviously he did not do that.
Well, when did you find out that he split?
I found out when Judge Judy called me.
You didn't know that before?
No.
Well, that's interesting. So the last contact you had with your child was over 2.5 years ago. Is that right?
Yes.
Why is that? Did you move?
No.
You lived in the
I
same-
just moved in
in September. Before that, I stayed in the same house. She was out here last summer also, and I let her at her mother's house, and I let my daughter call over there to speak with her grandmother. My daughter speak with her grandmother to tell her happy birthday. She answered the phone. My daughter said, "Mommy, like, what are you doing out here?" She didn't even speak. You know, she passed the phone to her mother instead of talking to her daughter. I called back the next morning to speak with her. Her mother told me she already left back for Washington.
Listen to me. Since Miss Willis has been caring for your daughter, you provided $480. That amounts to 32 cents a day. Do you think that's enough?
No, it isn't.
What kind of a job do you have?
I'm a custodial.
How much do you earn a week?
$400.
Here you have a child that you expect to exist on 30 cents a day. It's not her responsibility to support your child.
She took the responsibility.
No, she didn't. She didn't adopt your child.
At any point, she could have sent my daughter back to
How?
me at any point.
That is the most ridiculous statement that I've ever heard. If you chose to have a baby and not be a mother, that's your prerogative. If you were smart enough to say, listen, I'm not the maternal type. I'm not good at raising a child. You probably can do it better. I'm going to let you do it because I can't, or I'm not interested in doing it. That's honest. But don't tell me that you've got this burning maternal instinct in your stomach and all she had to do was call you and you would have taken your daughter, because anybody who is a parent, they wake up in the morning and they go into the nursery and they say, gee, my kid's not here. You know? They don't wait 2.5 years.
I didn't wait 2.5 years. I've tried on multiple occasions to call them. They told me that I cannot call or send her any more packages.
Listen to me,
That's what
my
her
friend.
father
Listen
said.
to me very carefully. At this point, Miss Willis is a legal stranger to your child. At any time, you could have petitioned the court for immediate custody of your daughter. I doubt that you can do it now. I would think that any judge that would give you custody of your child at this point had to be missing one in his six-pack. However, there was a time immediately after the child left your custody when you could have done that. So you can relinquish custody of your child to somebody else, but when you relinquish custody of your child to a stranger, you pay support. And what Miss Willis is asking for, as far as I'm concerned, is a minimal amount of retroactive support for the child in the time that she supported the child. What she's asking for is $5,000 over the course of 4 years. It's a little more than $1,000 a year. Figure it out. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She had numerous opportunities to get her daughter back.
I've been denied the opportunity to do it, not necessarily by the plaintiff, but by her father.
Well, she's my daughter. I couldn't imagine her even going back with her.
I don't accept the fact that I'm going to have a custody issue with her. She is my daughter.
I will fight to the end to make sure she stays with me forever.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Banukowitz versus Broder, step forward, please.
16-year-old Nicholas Banukowitz and his father, Mark, are suing the boyfriend of Nicholas's mother, truck driver Richard Broder, for an unpaid loan to pay bills.
Mr. Banukowitz, how old are you, sir?
16.
This is your dad?
Yes.
You're living with him now?
Yes.
Tell me your first name.
Nicholas.
Nicholas, this gentleman, Mr. Broder,
Yes.
was your mom's boyfriend.
Yes.
Who is this?
I'm the mom.
Are you back together again?
Yes.
You weren't for a while.
Correct.
Anyway, you went to live for a brief period of time with your mother and her boyfriend.
I lived there off and on
And when you weren't living there, where were you living?
with my father.
According to what I read, it is your claim that you loaned Mr. Broder $550 because things got financially tight in the house. And he asked you if you could lend him some money. You were working, you had a job after school. And you did.
Yes, ma'am.
Then they broke up for a while. You wanted your money back? He says that it was not a loan, it was towards the payment of household expenses because he put a roof over your head. That's what you're saying.
Correct.
How old were you, Nicholas, when you moved with your mom and Mr. Broder during the period of time that you gave him this money?
15.
And where had you been working?
To a supermarket.
What did you do there?
I stocked the shelves.
What did you earn an hour?
Around then, like 7:50.
How long did you work there?
I'm still there now.
So you've been working there for a couple of years?
Yes.
You work there after school?
Yes.
How do you do in school?
Good.
Great. Now, when you lived with your mother and Mr. Broder, was it your mother's house or Mr. Broder's house?
It was my mother's, but they were moving, so that's when he asked me for the money.
Was it a rental property?
Yes.
When they moved, did you move with them?
I live there. I go there once in a while, like on the weekend and stuff. I don't live there permanently.
Now, tell me about when Mr. Broder asked you for money. Do you remember when it was?
It was November 30th, 2003. He asked me for $450, and he promised to pay me back.
What did he say?
He goes, do you think you could lend me some money? You were trying to move, we're a little short.
Where were you, in the house?
Yes.
Where in the house?
The dining room.
Where was your mother?
Right next to me.
So he said, could you lend me some money? I'm a little short, we want to move. And what did you say to him?
I said, okay, and then he promised to pay me back.
What did he say? Don't tell me he promised. What did he say?
He said, I'll pay you back by the 6th of December, because I'm getting a bonus or something like that from work.
Where did you keep the money?
In my house, in my room.
So you gave him the money in cash?
Yes.
When did you give him the other 100?
In September of 2004.
Why, if he hadn't paid you back the money?
Because I trusted him. He was my mother's boyfriend, and I figured he would pay me back.
Between November 2003 and September 2004, almost a year passed. Did you ask him for the money?
Every month, I sent him a letter saying how much he owed me.
You have a copy of the letters?
Yep. And I also sent him a certified letter.
Mr. Broder, whether you say that this was a gift or a loan, did you ever respond to any of these letters?
No.
Why not?
I just put them aside, and because at the time I wasn't working or anything, and he really never persisted.
Okay. Now, tell me your version of this $550.
At the time, we were in financial difficulties. We both asked him for the money. And at the time, I didn't have a job. So
what about her?
She was working.
So?
So we were just paying the bills. And at the time, we ended up breaking up. And the reason why on this loan after a year is when we broke up, and that's when his father and him got involved and wanted to take me to court for the money back, for the loan.
Well, you keep saying loan, which is a nice thing. That makes my job much easier, Mr. Broder.
Well, he was living with us for a while and everything.
You used the word loan twice.
That's what he put on the paper as a loan.
No, that's what you just said. I understand what he said. You used the word loan twice. Do I make you that nervous, Mr. Broder?
No, you don't make me nervous.
At all?
No.
You mean you just step in your own mouth on your own, whether I'm make you nervous or not? What you just said to me was, I wasn't working. The mother and I asked for the loan together. The reason after a year I didn't pay back the loan was he wasn't pushing it. I mean, what's your defense to this action, Mr. Broder? I'd be really interested.
Your Honor, at the time, he was working when I lent him the $450.
Who cares? I asked him. I want to know his defense. I'm listening. And I have other things to do today. Do we have a defense, Mr.
No,
Broder?
we don't have a defense. I'm
Judgment
sorry.
for the plaintiff in the amount of $550. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He should have known that he was going to have to pay me back, one way or the other.
She crashed and burned me.
I feel like I was taken advantage of.
I was wrong.
I think he should have stood up a little more for himself because it was intended as a gift to us.
I'm just glad he got his money back and we didn't have to go any further.
It's a gift is a gift.
I really don't have much of a relationship with him.
He's my son. I love him to death. No big deal.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Halsell versus Thompson, step forward, please.
19-year-old marketing researcher Tracy Halsell is suing his former friend, 24-year-old hairstylist Antonio Thompson, for damages to his apartment. Antonio says Tracy slept with his girlfriend.
Mr. Halsell, the defendant used to be a friend of yours and he was also your roommate. According to you, he moved in with you into your home. Is that right?
Correct.
And there was some sort of a falling out, and you claim that your house was burglarized and vandalized, some property destroyed, and you believe that the defendant is responsible for that. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
He says he had nothing to do with this burglary. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When did he move in with you?
At the beginning of August, around the 13th.
And when did he move out?
Around October, the middle of October.
And when was your house vandalized?
Around the time that he moved out, because I never...
Well, give me the date, sir.
I don't know the exact date.
Well, you have to have the exact date, sir.
Because he came back to get his stuff. So the day that I put him out was like the 8th, because that was on the police report. But the day that he came back to get all of his stuff was in between that day and the 15th.
Where's the police report?
The police report is in my luggage that I lost at the airport, along with some pictures.
What kind of damage was done to your apartment?
My TV, it seemed like that he just took a stick or a bat.
Now, don't tell me what he did. I asked you what kind of damage was done to the apartment.
My vases were destroyed that were given to me by my mother. Customized television was destroyed. Also a dining room table and a few holes in the wall that were fixed because I had insurance on the apartment.
Now, why do you think Mr. Thompson, when he moved out, would do such a thing?
The day that he was initially not planning on returning, I slept with his girlfriend, so...
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How much damage did you suffer from Mr. Wholesale?
Over $1,500.
See what happens when you allow your body to be ruled by something other than your brain, sir?
Yes.
Join Dr. Nell Darby, crime author and historian.
Sure you really want us to kill this guy? Yes, she said.
As she investigates Murder by the Sea. Weeknights on CBS Reality.
In 2007, Tyvonne Whitford was found murdered in her own home.
This case has some complications, which is probably why it's gone cold after 15 years.
Somebody's seeing something.
He was probably sniped from a vehicle, laying in wait across the road from him.
You're in the middle of this. Help us understand what really happened.
Another season of incisive investigations.
Nobody should have to wait this long for justice.
Cold Justice, Monday on CBS Reality.
Saddle up, partner. We got a whole weekend of gunslinging cinema for you. That's 8 elusive films, so catch them while you can.
That's some damn choice.
Get my trigger finger all nervous and jerk easy.
Western Weekend, Saturday and Sunday on Legend.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tracy Halsell claims former friend Antonio Thompson trashed his apartment. Antonio says Tracy slept with his girlfriend.
He found you with his girlfriend? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
She's still your girlfriend? What's her name?
Amy.
Who was this?
This is the neighbor. This is my neighbor. He saw Tony come in and out the house. And when Tony left the house, he went into the house to see the damage that was done to my property by Tony. So he called me on my cell phone, and then that's when I returned back to the home.
So when you made the police report, you told the police that you had a witness and that it was Mr. Thompson who had done the damage to the apartment?
Yes.
Step up here. Tell me your name.
Anthony Coleman.
Did you speak to the police?
Yes, I did.
When?
Like right after the incident when Mr. Halsell had returned to the apartment.
And did the police officer write down what you were saying?
Yes.
And you told him that you had seen Mr. Thompson?
Yes, coming in. He went in the house, and that's when I first saw him. And like when he left, that's when I went to the apartment and checked it out, and that's when the property was damaged.
Did the police speak to you, Mr. Thompson?
No, ma'am.
That's odd.
He's lying.
That's very odd that the police didn't speak to you.
Right.
Once he gave me the description of what he had on and everything, because the police officer asked for a description of him, he was called later on that day. The police contacted me immediately and asked me what he looked like, if I can identify him. I told the police officer I could identify him. I went to District 1 police station, and it was him.
Yes?
I was never arrested.
Were you taken into custody?
No.
So what you're telling me, Mr. Thompson, is that Mr. Halsell?
Yes, ma'am.
Never spoke to the police and gave them your description, and you were never taken into custody. You were never taken down to the precinct and at least spoken to by a police officer. That never happened. Is that what you're telling me?
They never contacted me.
They never contacted you at all with regard to this. That's what you're telling me. And if the plaintiff can produce at some point the documents from the police department indicating that you were in fact taken into custody, then that would mean you were lying. Is that right?
Correct.
And you understand that if you lie about one thing, I can conclude that you lie about everything. You understand that?
Correct.
Oh, then this is going to be an easy case for me. And it's your statement, Mr. Thompson, that you had absolutely nothing to do with the destruction that took place in his apartment.
No, not at all.
Now, when you went to retrieve your property, sir, I assume that he said to you, get your stuff out?
No, that's not how it went.
Well, how did it happen?
When I came home, him and my girlfriend were laying in the bed, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know if he seen me, but I know she seen me because I walked out and then she tried to come out to reconcile and explain herself, whatever, and I just left it alone. I left my key to the apartment on the speaker, which was right next to the door. Then I didn't talk to him. Maybe like 2 or 3 days later, he called me to ask me what was going on and why hadn't I been home, whatever. Why did I leave my key there? And then I explained it to him. And
he called to ask you why you didn't come over. The girl didn't come back and say.
I don't know. I don't know what she did. She got in her car when I left.
You mean she jumped up out of bed naked and ran out into the street and jumped into her car?
When I left out the room, she jumped out of the bed with him and she grabbed their clothes right there and was trying to explain herself to me or whatever.
And you didn't speak to her at all when she got into her car?
I spoke to her for a second outside.
You know, and you said what?
I asked her what was going on. She was just, trying to tell me that it's just something that happened is what she tried to say. Well,
okay.
I just left it alone because she wasn't that important.
And what happened when you went back to your property? Was any property of his in the house destroyed?
No, when I went back the 3 days later, whatever, he had called me and I told him that I was going to come and get the rest of my things at his house, whatever. So when I went over there, he was there because I gave him my key and he let me in. And I got all of my things out of there and I left.
And you never went back?
Me and
so
him,
this gentleman is mistaken when he says that you went back there afterwards. He's mistaken.
Right.
And you did speak to the police?
Yes, I did.
And gave them your name?
Yes.
And they wrote down what you said?
Yes.
How much damage did you suffer from Mr. Wholesale?
Over $1,500 in damaging.
Okay. See what happens when you allow your body to be ruled by something other than your brain, sir?
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is what we're going to do, Mr. Wholesale. I am provisionally granting you a judgment in the amount of $1,500 on condition that the court receive within 5 days photographs of the damage as well as the police report indicating prompt outcry on the specific date that you indicated, and the fact that Mr. Thompson was in fact taken into the police station and questioned with regard to this incident. Is that fair, Mr. Thompson?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. That's the judgment of the court. Get me the documents. Thank you, Mr. Wholesale. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. Step out, please.
I caught them in the bed having sex. That's it. He just made got busted. And I told everybody, including his fiance.
That was his girlfriend. That was a whole new situation. He didn't have to damage my property. He could have talked to me face to face.
She acted like she didn't believe me, but I'm pretty sure she caught him as well.
No, she hit on me. That was on her.
What goes around comes around. You get it.
As soon as I get that information back, I'll be able to produce that.
To prove it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Prado versus Hawkins. Step forward.
23-year-old DJ Daniel Prado is suing his former friend, 24-year-old home healthcare aide Gina Hawkins, for non-payment of services rendered. Daniel claims he was the DJ at Gina's wedding and has yet to be paid.
Mr. Prado, it is your claim that the defendant owes you for performing DJ services at her wedding. You performed those services according to you. She didn't pay you, and you want your money. Ms. Hawkins says that you were a guest at her wedding, that there was never any agreement to pay you for the DJ services. That was sort of a gift. That's your defense. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When were you married?
June 19th.
Where?
At the Holiday Inn Airport.
When did you take the venue for the wedding? Just a second. We're going to need that fly swatter here. Yes.
On 03/04 of 04.
March of 04. So 3 months in advance.
Well, that was the last payment.
Go. Give it to me. You're not fast enough.
You were talking to him.
Okay. So you bought a wedding dress?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did you order that?
About a year and a half.
And when did you order your invitations?
6 months prior, I believe.
And how much in advance did you send out the invitations?
6 or 8 weeks in advance.
Okay, so I have a little background now. When were you contacted by Miss Hawkins with regard to providing DJ services?
About a week before the wedding, she called me and said, I don't have a DJ, I need the DJ. Do you think you'll be able to do it? And how much would you charge me for doing it?
How did you know her?
Something to say there.
Well, we've been college friends. We've known each other for about 4 years.
Were you invited to the wedding?
I did get an invitation on May the 11th.
Had you responded?
Yes, I did tell her that I would go.
How come you called a week before? You didn't have music for the wedding?
No, I didn't call a week before. He came over to my house in, I believe, March. In our dining room, with my husband as a witness, said that he would do the DJing as a wedding gift.
Had you ever heard him do his DJ bit before?
I knew he had other DJ projects, and we were friends, and it's something he wanted to do for me, and I agreed.
And that was 3 months before the wedding?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, Mr. Prado.
Your Honor, during that time that she's talking about, I went to go and visit with her when she came into town, and she was talking about the wedding, but there was never a mention of me DJing at the party. She said she was going to find somebody else because she wanted me to be a guest at her wedding. So,
okay.
You know.
So, tell me about the contract that you had, Mr. Prado.
Well, like I said, she called about a week, and she told me, you know, can you do this? What kind of rate would you be able to give me? I said, well, I'll give you a $300 package, which includes DJing, lighting, everything included, for $300.
And she said okay.
And she said okay.
And you say that was never the discussion. The discussion was before in your kitchen, 3 months before. He would like to do it, and you said fine, okay. You discussed it with your fiancé. That was good.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a videotape according to your answer that you want me to see?
Yes, and I also have pictures here that shows that he was dancing with my maid of honor, which he also dedicated a song called Baby Back.
I don't care.
Which was definitely inappropriate.
Listen, I have things to do. You want to show me the video?
Yes.
No.
Show me the video.
And this shows him acting unprofessionally.
Listen to me. I have eyes. I can see.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't editorialize. I'm not interested.
In the video, you can see him doing.
Oh, I love it. No, he's back there. That's very nice. He's just sort of encouraging everybody to dance. That's wonderful. And everybody looks like they're having a great time.
No, he's actually on the dance floor.
Listen to me. Who's that?
This is my husband, and he's throwing the garter. His uninvited brother touches the garter.
I don't care. Now turn it off. It's enough, please. It's enough. Mr. Prado.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen to me very carefully, sir. This is not a very difficult case. This is a case that deals with common sense. You know all the questions I asked Mrs. Hawkins before? This was a very well-planned wedding. She ordered her dress a year and a half in advance. She took the hall a year in advance. She ordered her invitations well in advance. And if I were to believe your story, I would have to believe that she waited until a week before her wedding to take care of the second most important thing after the groom that a bride thinks about, which is the music. Maybe the third, second being the dress. And Miss Hawkins seems like a very organized lady. She ordered everything well in advance, including the music. This is not a lady that waits until a week before to solidify the music for her wedding, Mr. Prado.
Mm-hmm.
Do we understand each other?
I understand, Your Honor.
Good. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
This is a wedding gift. It's something somebody does for you, and I didn't pay for him.
I trusted somebody, and they abused me.
Bad memories, and that's it.
To do something for free, it's a waste.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Freeling versus Reed. Step forward, please.
19-year-old cashier Erin Freeling is suing her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old landscaper Philip Reed, for disposing of all her belongings and for damaging their apartment. Philip is countersuing, claiming Erin stole his cat.
Miss Freeling, you and Mr. Reed used to live together.
That's true.
As boyfriend and girlfriend. You lived
Correct.
in an apartment, is that right?
That's correct.
At some point you had an argument, you left, and you claimed that Mr. Reed disposed of some of your property. And in addition, he damaged the apartment so that you didn't get whatever security deposit back you were supposed to. Mr. Reed says that he didn't cause any more than normal wear and tear in the apartment, and he was forced to dispose of your property because you would abandon the property there, and he had to get the property out because the lease was over. Is that right, sir?
Yes, correct.
Okay. When did you move in together, Miss Freeling?
We had moved in together September of 03.
When did you leave?
July of 04.
Why did you leave?
He got too controlling, started being violent, so I decided to leave, and I had returned a week later to get some personal belongings and my cat. When I returned to get my cat, he had started pushing me back into the apartment, and at that point I had my mom call 911, and we had the police come over, and they had to take him aside so I could get my personal belongings out of the apartment and my cat. I couldn't get that much stuff that day.
Why not?
Because I had a small car, and I was afraid to return to the apartment because he got very violent when I did go, and I didn't feel that I should have to call the cops every time I want to come over to my apartment.
Go ahead.
When I come back in September of 04, he had left my clothes on the middle of the floor, wet with urine, but I have videotape of all the damages or the stuff that he thrown in the dumpsters.
Approximately, we lived together for a year and a half. We had a loving, caring relationship. About 8 months in the relationship, Mrs. Freeling told me she had feelings for another female, and she left the premises. I didn't hear from her. I called her and I told her if she don't come get her belongings, I'm going to throw them out. She took my cat that my grandmother got for me last Christmas.
Don't interrupt him. Who took care of it?
I did, because she wasn't there most of the time.
Step up. What's your last name?
Reed, Audrey.
Miss Reed, you bought the cat last Christmas?
Yes, I gave it to him as a present.
Miss Freeling, where'd you get the cat from?
I got the cat for Christmas from Philip, and I took care of the cat. I have vet bills.
Can I see the vet book, please?
This is even his health checkup. Here's his rabies tag. The cat stuff is mailed to my mom's house because she paid for it.
Who took the cat to the vet, Mr. Reed?
Mom did. Aaron's mother did.
No, Aaron and her mother.
Along with me.
Aaron and her mother.
Correct.
Right, from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Thank you. You may sit down, Miss Reed. Now, what stuff do you claim he disposed of that belongs to you?
When I had returned to the apartment, found everything gone. This is a list of just the main stuff that I found that was gone.
Why didn't you come before? I don't buy the story that you didn't go before because you were afraid of him because he was violent. You could have gone with the police again. You went with them once. You could have gone with them again and gotten your stuff. Why didn't you go back?
Because I didn't have a vehicle that I could move the dresser.
That's baloney.
Because I didn't feel that I should have to get the law involved to get belongings back.
Well, then that's tough. I'm not dealing with something like a sugar dispenser, $3. Salt and pepper shakers, $5. Small cat bowls, $3. The only thing I have to make a decision today about really is the cat and whose cat it is. Mr. Reed, get over the cat. She took the cat with her. She left a lot of other property behind, but she made sure she took the cat. Where's the cat now?
He's at my house.
All right. And the rest of the stuff that was disposed of, you deal with it. Now, you say that he damaged some property.
We had gotten into an argument. I locked myself in the bathroom. He had damaged the door. When I went back to the apartment, I found tomatoes on the wall.
Do you have a bill from the landlord charging you for cleanup?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it. Who paid the security deposit?
I paid the security deposit.
That was billed to both of us.
Now I'll see the video.
This is what we found dumpster diving. Here's where he threw most of his stuff. Notice, huh? Pretty good, huh?
There's tomato stains on the carpet.
Spot on the carpet. This is the doorknob that he broke trying to get into the bathroom when I locked myself in the bathroom.
You said she locked herself in the bathroom and you knocked the door. Is that true?
No, I'm not a violent person.
Your Honor,
in any event, that was in January, and you lived with him until July. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And another thing is, she came a week before the lease was even up. Like a week. How come she couldn't confront me and say, hey, I'll pay half of it? Like a couple...
I have no idea. Listen, I'm not
Okay.
Dear Abby.
All right.
I mean, the whole thing is very irritating.
Yeah.
You know, two children playing house, and then things go wrong, and then you annoy the courts by asking them to get involved in who belongs to two placemats and a salt and pepper shaker. If you can't play house like adults, don't play house. Half of $490 is $245, which is left due and owing by each of you to the landlord. The apartment wasn't left in such I'm speaking. The apartment wasn't left in such bad condition. The cat belongs to you. Get a judgment for $245. That's all.
You may step out.
He was controlling. He would get violent.
She had feelings for another female, she told me.
I haven't fell in love with another woman.
That is not true.
I just have other preferences.
Noah Joyner and Harland Hendrickson are suing their former employer, Christopher Ricks, for unpaid wages and vandalism.
Court come to order. All rise.
Seat, please.
Case 2094, Joyner Hendrickson versus Ricks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think that I'm going to start out with Mr. Joyner. Who is that? That would be you, because we start with you. He came in later to this scenario, is that right?
Right.
So let me try to understand, Mr. Joyner, what it is that you're suing the defendant for, considering what you wrote to me in your complaint. You were looking for a job. Whatever business you had went south, and you didn't have any money.
That's not true.
Well, let's see.
It was said like that, but we did not lose a...
After losing my jewelry business.
Yes, ma'am. That's not right.
Well, that's what you signed in your complaint.
Yes.
So I can only go by what you signed in your deposition. That you lost your jewelry business, that's what it says. Anyway, you were looking for a job. The defendant has a theater, among other businesses.
Yes, ma'am.
And you sought out the defendant, Mr. Joyner?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how you sought him out.
I was vending at a coffee shop. I was vending my jewelry. It's not a lost business.
Would you just get on to how you met him?
Definitely. So I was vending there, and I saw at the theater Pride Weekend. So I had called Chris Ricks, said, hey, is it okay if I come up there and vend my jewelry?
Just a second. So you called him. Was his name on the poster? How did you find him?
I just called the theater's number, and he answered.
Okay, so you weren't calling him, you were just calling the number.
Yes, ma'am.
So you asked him, can I come and sell my jewelry at your theater? When was that?
That was Wednesday, June 16th, 2022.
Okay, and you were having some sort of an event?
Yes, ma'am.
Did Mr. Joyner come and set up his jewelry booth?
They did, in fact.
Were they charged for that?
No, I did not. I just simply offered the space. They kind of told me their backstory and that they were having financial troubles, and I was trying to do a good deed for the community.
Okay, so you were not charged for the space?
Right. Yes, ma'am.
And you went up there on what date to sell your jewelry?
We started Thursday night, June 17th, 2022.
When you say we, is that you?
All three of us, yes.
Okay, so did you sell any jewelry?
A little bit.
So not much, not enough for the three of you spending a day on the 17th. And then how did it come about that you sought out a job from Mr. Ricks? Because you did seek a job. On what date did you ask him if there was any work?
Thursday night. Thursday the 16th.
And what were you supposed to do?
Supposed to bartend, open, close. That's not accurate.
I'll get to you.
And
what were you supposed to do?
And run the concession stand. Bartend, close, open, and run the concession stand.
During what hours?
4 p.m. that day till 12 a.m., 1 a.m. that night. Could not really remember.
Okay, and did you do that?
Yes.
And you weren't selling your jewelry at that time?
I was going off and on, so anytime he had called me for a different job, I would take that. Sorry.
So the answer is you were doing both?
Yes, ma'am.
So you were doing your own business and doing whatever task Mr. Ricks asked you to do?
Yes, ma'am.
That was on the 16th. And did he pay you for that work?
Yes, he ended up paying
And just
us.
a second. And how much did he give you?
Gave us $264 for that weekend.
Not we.
I gave me $264 that week.
Did he work that weekend?
Yes, we all three worked that weekend.
Doing what?
Everything.
Well,
we
Mr.
opened...
Hendrickson is not suing for any wages from him other than for the painting that he did later. I'm asking you, what did you do for him and when, and how much did you get paid?
I did opening, closing duties for him. I ran a bar.
For how many days?
4 days, Your Honor.
4 days.
In the beginning, but I did pick up more stuff whenever he called me for more opportunities. So he would be like, hey, we have jam band tonight. So I would say, okay, I could work.
Okay, so you worked, say, until June 20th, you said, for 4 days, and then you would work after that period of time?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you stop going to the theater for the purposes of doing anything for Mr. Ricks? Month and day.
Oh.
One of the things you're supposed to have, Mr. Joyner, when you come to court, and if you're suing for wages, is you're supposed to have it right here, right in the front of your brain. What date you started, what date you stopped, what hours you worked, what you did. That's what you're supposed to have. Do you understand? Okay. Mr. Ricks, on what date was the last date you saw Mr. Joyner at your theater doing anything?
Saturday, June 25th.
So it would be a fair statement that certain days you saw him between the 16th of June and the 25th of June.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you told me about the 16th that you started working part-time because you were back and forth between your own business and doing something for him, for which actually he gave you free space to sell your jewelry. Now, when you go someplace, you usually pay for space to sell your jewelry, right?
Right.
Well, I mean, I know that because I've had hundreds of cases involving people who rent space in a theater or under a tent or in a yard so that they can sell their jewelry. He gave it to you for nothing.
Yes.
And you're back and forth doing little errands for him on the 16th. Like what? 16th, while you were selling your jewelry. Tell me what you did.
We worked the jam band for them that night.
Not a we. I don't want to hear a we.
I worked the jam band that night. He has like a jazz band that comes in and performs.
And what do you mean you worked?
I worked the concession. I opened, closed, bartended for him, anything that he was calling me over to do.
That's a little too loosey-goosey for me.
No, I can tell
That's a little too loosey-goosey for me. Okay, let's go. What did he do, if you remember, on the 16th?
On the 16th, 17th, and 18th, that's when they had their jewelry set up. He did not work my concession stand at all. He did not work for me that time at all.
That's not
true.
He started working.
Don't speak. Do not speak. Do you see I asked you questions? He was quiet. Now it's his turn to speak. Now you have to be quiet. You understand?
He worked Sunday, June 19th from 9 to 2, which was 5 hours. That was brunch. He worked June the 22nd. They were late. They arrived at 3:12.
You said they arrived.
Both of them came that day.
On the 20s?
On June the 22nd.
22nd.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the first time that both Mr. Joyner and Mr. Hendrickson came together?
To work for me in a theater capacity, yes.
Okay. That's incredible. And that was June 19th?
No, that was June the 22nd. But actually, I misspoke. I apologize. They both worked June 19th for brunch. They both worked June the 22nd. On June the 24th, he had a text meltdown, and then he came to work and worked 5 to 9. I have their hours exactly. 5
to 9, and that's just Mr. Joyner or both of them?
They both came on June the 25th, Your Honor.
And worked from when to when?
On the 25th, which is Saturday, he worked from 5:20 to 10:30. He passed on the concession opportunity where he could have made more money.
No, but he worked doing what?
He trailed me. I was trying to teach him managerial type cash in, cash out, etc., and the business situation of the theater, because that's what he proposed to me that he was educated to do. And so
you mean managing a theater?
Yeah, just kind of helped me with open, close duties, overseeing that tasks are done by the other employees, etc.
Okay, so it sounds as if he and Mr. Hendrickson worked for a limited number of days.
Correct.
How many days in total?
In the total project, which is painting.
No, not
the
painting.
Theater, just the theater.
In the theater.
Joyner worked 4 days at the theater, and Harland worked 3 days at the theater.
Okay, and how many?
4, I beg your pardon.
4.
Yes, ma'am.
Your last day of work, that was the 25th of June?
Yes, ma'am. At the theater.
I'm talking about only at the theater.
I think he worked 18 hours, just at a quick glance here.
18 hours during the 4 days.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Hendrickson, how many hours did he work on? You don't have anything in front of you, Mr. Hendrickson, so I assume you have nothing. No physical evidence, is that right?
Correct, Your Honor.
All right, good. How many hours?
Just under 12, actually.
Say 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So one worked 18 hours, one worked 12 hours. Do you have any data to indicate that those hours are wrong?
No, ma'am.
Okay, great.
There was no actual documentation, like we did not have a clock in, clock out, but the 18 hours is not correct, though. We have no data.
You have no data?
Right.
He does.
It's not actual fact. It's not fact.
I don't know whether it's factual. How do I know? You're supposed to keep track.
Noah Joyner and Harlan Hendrickson claim their former employer, Christopher Ricks, owes for unpaid wages and vandalism. Christopher is countersuing for damage to his apartment complex and slander.
Okay, how much were you paid, Mr. Joyner? Because part of it is your wages that you're requesting for working in the theater. How much in total did Mr. Ricks pay you?
$264.
That's for the theater work?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much, Mr. Hendrickson, did Mr. Ricks pay you?
$204.
Sarah, do math for me, would you please? 18 into 264 and 12 into 204. Now, on what date, Mr. Joyner, because this is where it gets sort of fuzzy to me. So far, this is what I'm getting, that the three of you were trying to start a business that was marginally successful in selling jewelry. So far, do we agree on that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
and as part of selling your jewelry, you approached the defendant, and it was really a cold call. You called a regular number, not Mr. Ricks personally, and told him your story. And he said, well, if you want to come down, I'll give you free space to sell your jewelry. And that was within his theater area.
Yes, ma'am.
So you would say that was very nice of him. And you worked for him, and he showed you the place, he showed you the books, he showed you, you started to do other things. Now, at some point, this is where I go a little fuzzy with you, Mr. Joyner, and maybe you can help me understand you. So you have someone who's been nothing but nice to you so far. On what date did you file a complaint with Alcohol and Beverage Control?
That was July 5th, 2022.
So let me figure this out. So you worked for him at the theater until June 25th. On July 5th, is that what you told me?
Well, after the 25th of June, so we had kind of like a weird period where we were trying to figure out if we still wanted to finish the apartments for him. And
no apartments. We haven't gotten to the apartments yet. I'm going to get to the apartments because he asked you to paint apartments. You went over there, and that's another part of your lawsuit. Just a second. Sarah Rose, how much did Mr. Joyner make per hour?
$14.60.
Minimum wage.
And Mr. Hendrickson
It's 11 in Arkansas.
would be $17 an hour.
And he made $17 an hour.
Correct, for 12 hours at $200.
But there was no actual.
Hours are not correct.
There was no actual documentation. Like we did not have a clock in, clock out. But the 18 hours is not correct, though. We have no data.
Just a second. You have no data.
Right.
He does.
But there's no it's not actual fact. It's not fact.
I don't know whether it's factual. How do I know? You're supposed to keep track.
Yes, ma'am.
You're supposed to keep track.
We're not the business owners.
Just a second. You want the money.
Theater.
Right now, he's paid you more than the minimum wage for being around. I mean, the theater ran for how many years before they worked for you for 6 days?
Been about a year and a half. I bought it during COVID.
Okay, and this was your first time working in a theater.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so you had no fund of information. He wasn't paying you for expertise. He was paying you for those few days, and you were following him around, closing a stand, whatever you were doing, and you were paid more than the minimum wage, which is, I assume, more than you made selling your jewelry for the 3 days you were there.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Right.
Okay. I'm still going to wait for this answer, because at some point after you stopped working for him at the theater, and after you had mulled over some information that you thought you had acquired while you were working for him, I want you to do a step-by-step why you contacted the authorities, because he does have an alcohol license, right? I assume if you have an alcohol, if you contact, don't look at each other. Just look at me. I'm actually the nastiest one here.
Agree.
Well, so alcohol beverage control. So what information, sir, did you give alcohol beverage control that caused the investigation?
Your Honor, he was not the one that called them. I was.
We both called. So what happened during the time that we were working those 4 days, he would serve other people alcohol. He would get on our asses about IDing people, how to sign the papers for ABC, everything. And I made sure to take a picture of the number. I didn't take a picture of the whole document itself.
What are you talking about? What document?
The ABC paper. Whenever we had to sign the paper saying that if we didn't ID someone and the ABC came in and found out about it, we would be fined and we would be held responsible, not Chris. We had to sign those papers.
Okay.
That stuff.
So you signed the papers.
But during that, after we signed that, we noticed Chris was still giving out free alcohol to people, pouring it, wasn't even checking people's IDs. So I called the ABC and I said, I think there's suspicion that he's giving minors alcohol. Because there were people there that were 19 years old that were coming up to us saying, oh, well, yeah, we're 19, but we're cool with Chris and stuff like that in ways. Like they had a way with Chris or whatever, friends with Chris. We just started working there. We don't know the regulars. We don't know what the life is like.
I'm just trying to think of why you would do that for somebody who was, forget whether I believe you or not, forget the loosey-goosey of what you just told me. Maybe he said,
we actually have a recording that he admitted to giving one of our 19-year-old employees alcohol. Because he said...
And? Just tell me, and? I want to know why you called them on July 5th. You were no longer there. Did that have to do with the painting? Was that before or after you started painting?
That was after we started painting.
Of course it was after you started painting. Now, so let's go to the second part of your lawsuit. Second part of your lawsuit involves the work that you both did for him. You have an apartment complex, Mr. Ricks.
Correct.
And that apartment complex contains how many apartments?
20. I bought it as a rehab.
And
it was completely vacant. And
at the time that you asked them if they wanted to paint it, it was vacant, all 20 units?
Correct.
Tell me, how did you approach Mr. Ricks, or he you, about this house painting job?
We were trying to get away from all the stuff that we were seeing and hearing at the theater. So we asked if he had other jobs for us, and he said he had apartments that needed to be painted last week, and that if we could get in there and finish them, great.
Okay, now I'm going to come back to what you just told me. You just told me that you saw things at the theater, that he served somebody that you know who was 19 alcohol, and that was very distressing to you. So distressing that you said to him, do you have any other work for us?
It wasn't just that
just a second.
instance.
Just
no,
a
ma'am.
How many hours did you work on each of those days, Mr. Hendrickson?
I do not remember the hours for the days, but I calculated all the hours together, and it was 52.
Well, then you know how many hours you worked.
Technically, yes.
What do you mean, technically, yes?
Noah Joyner and Harlan Hendrickson claim their former employer, Christopher Ricks, owes for unpaid wages and vandalism. Christopher is countersuing for damage to his apartment complex and slander.
Okay. Did he take you over to paint the complex in handcuffs? Did he take you over there in a van? Did you ask him for additional work?
He's the only person really in Hot Springs, Arkansas that we felt like we could relate to and feel comfortable working for.
I asked you a very simple question. Give me a very simple answer. Did you ask him for more work?
Yes.
And did he say, I have an apartment complex that needs painting?
Yes.
And did you agree on a price?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the name of the last person that you did painting for? House painting?
I did it for my parents when we built our house, but that's...
Very nice. I also painted a room once in my dining room when I was 24 years old. I actually thought I did a pretty good job. I would not hire myself out as a house painter, but because I painted my parents' living room when I was 12. So the answer is you had
no... The reason why he was asking us to paint, because he couldn't find someone else to paint for him, because he wasn't paying people.
I didn't ask Noah to paint.
Shh.
That's correct.
Just a second. Sir.
I was not asked to paint.
Sir.
No.
Mr. Joyner, you know what your problem is? Your problem is you were dissatisfied with what you saw at his theater. And then you went, and now I'm speaking. You were dissatisfied with what you saw at his theater. While you were there, working at the theater, you did nothing about it. Zero. Even if it was true, you did nothing about it.
We didn't want to lose our jobs at the time, Your Honor.
You didn't have jobs at the time. You stopped working for him on the 25th of June. You didn't call alcohol until July 5th, you said, so you were no longer working for him in the theater. So it didn't start to bother you, really. June 22nd, June 23rd, June 24th, June 25th, the 26th, the 27th, the 28th, 29th, 30th, all the way up until July 5th.
The ABC report was not just filed by me, and it wasn't just on July 5th. There was also another instance where it was filed earlier, but that was with them, and there's no evidence about it.
Just a second. You filed July 5th.
Yes, ma'am.
Now you're going to tell me what happened with the painting, because you finished the painting kerfuffle happened in July, is that right?
Right.
And it was after the painting kerfuffle that you called alcohol beverage. After the painting kerfuffle.
Well, it was
So
during. It was during.
What?
It was during, kind of, almost.
You're getting the feeling that
It
I'm
wasn't
not
just
sympathetic.
me that
You're
filed the
getting,
report
you're
with
getting.
ABC.
Well, just a second. You mean one of these other people who was also
Harlan
jobless?
filed.
I don't care.
So we shouldn't have-
Nobody
we
was
shouldn't have
filed.
reported it at all.
No,
So we shouldn't have
no, I'm
reported it?
trying to get to your motive, sir. If it was so abhorrent,
My motive? I have no motive.
Speak,
I am just owed
don't try to speak
worked
over me.
for.
Don't try to speak over me. That
No, I'm trying to
doesn't
fight for what I'm
work.
owed.
So far, you're not owed a thing for the theater. Now we're getting to the painting. I'm just trying to see what motivates somebody. And I'm not excusing the fact that if Mr. Ricks serves alcohol to minors, that's not a good thing to do. He can get into real difficulty. They conducted an investigation as a result of the calls. All I have to ask you is this. Do you still have your liquor license?
Absolutely.
Okay. Was it ever revoked?
No. And I've had multiple in the state of Arkansas.
So you're not owed any money for the theater. Now we're going to get to the paint. When did you start painting in the complex? Date.
June 27th, 2022.
6/27. Did you paint there 6/28?
Yes.
Did you paint there alone or with Mr. Hendrickson?
Mr. Hendrickson.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you paint on June 29th?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you paint after June 29th?
No, Your Honor.
So you painted there for 3 days. Is that correct?
Actually, 5 days that I was there. I started on the 23rd.
I was there for 3.
And did you work the 23rd?
I worked the 23rd through the 29th.
Just
7 days.
23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th. So you worked weekends?
Yes.
That's not.
Did you work weekends?
I worked the 23rd through the 29th, 7 days.
Well, 7 days. Just a second. Pay attention to me. 7 days includes a weekend,
Yes.
Saturday and Sunday. Did you work
Yes.
Saturday and Sunday?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Not Sunday.
I'm going to go back to you. Did you work Saturday and Sunday?
I worked the morning of Sunday, and I left 3 hours
All right.
after getting there.
Okay, so forget Sunday. Now, how many hours did you work on each of those days, Mr. Hendrickson?
I do not remember the hours for the days, but I calculated all the hours together, and it was 52.
Let me understand what you just said to me. You don't know how many hours in each day, but you calculated them together and came up to 52 hours. Would you repeat what he said to me? Because it's mind-boggling to me.
He said, I do not remember the hours for the days, but I calculated all the hours together, and it was 52.
How do you calculate all the hours? Let me ask my question, sir. How do you calculate up to 52 when you don't remember how many hours you worked each day?
Looking at the text messages and seeing when I got there and when I left, because I texted him when I opened the doors and when I locked up.
Well, then you know how many hours you worked.
Technically.
What?
Technically, yes.
What do you mean technically yes?
Because they're not completely correct. I didn't text him right when I got there, and I didn't text him right when I was leaving. I texted him when I got home or after I had started.
Okay, let's go back.
A Joyner and Harlan Hendrickson have accused their former employer, Christopher Ricks, of vandalizing Noah's car and refusing to pay wages. Christopher claims they slandered his business.
Now, you have photographs of the place before you started painting and afterwards? You have any photographs?
Absolutely.
I'd like to see them.
It's just the paint on the floor.
Just a second.
Okay, very well.
I have eyes. I can look at the pictures.
So the
I just want to take a look. If I need any.
How they are before we paint them. That's before they're painted, Your Honor.
These are your photographs.
Yes, ma'am.
You painted the floor.
No, ma'am. We had to declutter a couple of units that had stuff.
One unit.
Like that.
Shh, don't speak. You had to, what you call declutter, and you had to sweep it up before you started painting.
It was worse.
Okay. And did you?
Yes, ma'am.
And is this a picture of what you allege it looked like?
All of the units had stuff in them just like that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And this is the floor that you painted?
Yes.
Is that the floor that they painted?
One of the three.
Okay. So they painted the floors. Did you paint anything else other than the floors?
Well, we painted the walls.
They painted the walls.
Sorry.
They dripped on the floors. They are.
Okay.
So they're brand new flooring.
We were
but
told
I
it
just-
wasn't. It didn't have to be perfect.
Just a second. You didn't put these floors in,
I
did
did.
you? I thought they painted them.
No. They were to do touch-up only, and there was one unit that needed to be finalized, and that was the one you saw that was bad.
We were having
the floors were.
I told you, don't speak when he is. I'll come back to you.
The floors were brand new, and like I said, I provided drop cloths and such. They didn't use them.
That's not true. Shh. What is this?
That's the one unit that was not completely emptied out.
Okay, this one.
Yeah, there was one single unit.
And this one.
That's the same unit.
And this.
Same unit.
Okay, and the rest of them were cleaned out.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct?
All new floor.
Yes, the pictures of the
the pictures of the mess are all one unit of the 20. Okay, and how many units did they paint for you, Mr. Ricks?
They didn't finish any of the units. They were in 3 units, Your Honor.
Okay.
And 3 units have damage.
Okay. What you're telling me is they didn't do a good job in 3 units.
Correct.
Okay. Well,
They
that,
didn't finish it at all.
That I'd like to see the photographs of what they didn't finish.
The paper copies. There you go. And there should be one that's a door that's not even painted. You can see it's 2-tone, and the flooring is where they, I guess, scraped the floor.
Okay. This is the same picture as this.
No, that's different. I can show you on my phone, too, if you'd like. They're different. It's like in one of the areas they tried to use a tool to scrape paint off in different areas, and that's what was left.
You're talking about...
Me with any
That's not true. There was no tools provided for us at all.
I didn't ask you anything. Is what you're saying to me, sir, that the reason you didn't... I assume you weren't paid for this work. Is that correct?
No. Not even for cleaning out that unit, really.
Weren't paid. Now, I assume, Mr. Ricks, that you didn't pay them because you thought that they did a poor job.
No, ma'am, that's not accurate.
Why didn't you pay them?
They didn't do the job.
They worked there at some point.
I agreed with Harland only to pay him $3,000.
Harland, that was you.
Yes.
That's you. You agreed with Harland.
For that job.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's
for $3,000.
You're almost finished. Do you understand? You're almost done. 1, 2, 3 warnings, then I'm finished with you. And it wouldn't bother me at all. I have to tell you, it wouldn't bother me at all. Now, what arrangement did you make as far as payment is concerned?
On June...
Mr. Hendrickson started the job first on June 23rd.
He was to meet me, and he did. He was late. He was supposed to meet me early. I showed him the whole scope of the project because he hadn't been there, and what I wanted done, what I expected. And we agreed on the price of $3,000. And after they got halfway done, which was 10 units, I would pay them $1,500. And then when they were complete, I would pay the entire $3,000. They didn't get past 3, Your Honor.
3 of the 20.
Yes, ma'am. And they didn't finish any of those at all.
Okay. What I'm saying to you, Mr. Ricks, you took one guy.
Right.
Who you didn't know from a hole in the wall.
Yes, ma'am.
You took a second guy who you knew was there because I believe that you knew he was there painting with Mr.
Right.
Joyner.
Mr. Hendricks actually fired him twice. You can see in text message if you need to see that.
You mean Mr. Hendrickson fired Mr. Joyner?
Yeah, he says right here.
Just a second.
Well, let me just pull up the text message since it's so
But you do know that Mr. Joyner was there.
Yes, ma'am. They were. It was a group. They decided to do a group thing. This is the right here. It says, "Never mind. No one's not going to help me anymore."
Group chat.
And then there's an additional where he says again that I'm going to let Noah have a couple of days off.
Just a second, Mr. Hendrickson. So on the 29th, you indicated to Mr. Ricks that Noah, that would be you, is not going to be helping me anymore.
Yes.
Yes, and you want to tell me why?
Noah and I had...
No, look at me.
Noah and I had an argument at the painting job
Tell me about
we were arguing...
Tell me about the argument, sorry.
We were
when did you have it?
arguing about the detail that we were putting into our work. I walked in and Noah was paying a lot of attention to detail, and Chris told me that the job did not have to be perfect. He just wanted it to be done.
Just a second. So Noah was trying to be careful.
Yes.
And you said you don't have to be so careful.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that what it boils down to?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that was on the 29th.
Yes, correct.
So after that, he said he's not going to work for you anymore.
Correct.
Now, so I gather from that statement that since you were working there since the 23rd, you didn't feel as if you had to be so careful to detail.
That is...
I mean, that would follow from what you just said to me. If Noah wanted to be more careful to detail, you said, oh, no, you don't have to be so careful to detail. It doesn't have to be perfect. right? And goodbye, which is what this says. So I have to assume, conjure up in my mind, that if you doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be such a great job. It can be, as my great-grandmother used to say, there's a difference between a schmearer and a painter.
That's right.
Now, I don't know who would understand that except another Jewish grandmother. But you understand the connotation. You can smear paint. I have a 9-year-old granddaughter who can smear paint on a wall. But if I want something professionally done, I try to get a painter.
I told Chris I was not a professional.
Just a second. You see, that's my problem with Mr. Ricks. If you want something done right, get a man, not a boy. Tell me the worst thing he told you to do.
I don't know what you were wanting from me.
What I want you to do is to tell me what he told you about black mold. Don't make it up.
Defending Christopher Ricks, claims Noah Joyner and Harlan Hendrickson slandered his business on social media. Noah and Harlan say they were not paid for painting Christopher's apartment complex.
Now, if I wanted somebody to work on one of my cars, I would not get somebody off the street who was selling popcorn at a concession stand and say to them, by the way, my car over there needs a new battery. Now, would I take my car back to the same dealership? Maybe not, because they're very expensive. But would I find somebody who at least had a referral, a recommendation? I have a 20-unit apartment complex that was empty. You want to use it as a business. You don't hire 2 schmearers to go and take care of your property. But you have to, if you didn't like their work, fire them. And if their work was not complete and only 3 units were touched, which I don't think that they argue with. So far, that's correct, Mr. Hendrickson?
That is incorrect.
How many units did you
5.
paint? 5.
And I actually painted 7, but I didn't complete the last 2. I just did the trim in it.
So you completed 5 units out of 20.
Yes.
I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. Mm-hmm. And you agreed to $3,000.
That's incorrect, Your Honor.
How much?
We did not have a meeting to talk about a payment until the 29th, and that was actually part of the reason that him and I were arguing. Chris and I and Noah met at a coffee shop, and we spoke about how much we would be getting paid. We agreed on a $3,000 price for the end of the month of July because Christopher was supposed to be going on a vacation until July 20th.
So the $3,000 was mentioned.
It was mentioned, and then he told me and Noah, Chris told me and Noah that on the 30th, he would pay us half of what he was going to be paying us.
Just a second. You were hired to paint 20 units.
Yes, Your Honor.
You painted 5, which is 1/4 of the $3,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's say those apartments were complete, not satisfactorily to him, but now you both agree that the $3,000 price was mentioned for the 20 units.
Yes.
It would be $750 if they did 5 units.
That's all, $750. That would be $750 if you completed only 1/4 of them. Okay. Did you pay them any money for painting, yes or no?
No.
Okay, good. So best case scenario for the painting is $750. And I haven't gotten to his counterclaim yet, but you have one more claim. And your claim is that Mr. Ricks vandalized your car by throwing paint on it.
Sure.
Tell me when that happened.
We woke up July 20th, 2020.
7:20. Where did you wake up?
At our house, our apartment. Hot Springs,
Okay,
Arkansas.
tell me what happened.
I woke up to my car being splattered with the same color paint that we were using in his apartments.
Okay, so your car had paint on it when you woke up. Did you see anybody do it?
No, ma'am.
Just let me take a look at the photograph. Okay. Did you file a police report?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it. Okay, so no one saw this, but you say that there is a video that you have. I assume, Mr. Ricks, unless you want to tell me that you did, in fact, throw paint primer on his car?
I absolutely did not.
Okay, and you did not see anybody throw paint primer on the car. But you say there was a video. Noah stated that he has video from his apartment complex pointing right at Noah's vehicle.
I think the police put that in there because they had interviewed.
So there is no video?
No, ma'am.
And you did not witness this?
No, ma'am.
And other than thinking that this paint primer was a result of actions and retaliation for something that you did, do you have any witness that saw him do that?
No, ma'am.
I have to see proof that the defendant had anything to do with this car.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? Did you take the car in to be cleaned?
Yes, I cleaned it myself just to avoid further damage.
Yes.
But after I cleaned it, I took it to the auto body shop to see what the actual repairs
Okay,
were.
do you have pictures of it after you cleaned it?
After we cleaned it, it looked somewhat like this. And then we had to take it to the body shop. They buffed out the rest of it for us.
So what you're telling me is you took it to an auto body shop, and the auto body shop...
They helped clean up the rest of it, but they still took off our top coat.
Okay, very good. Well, you have no proof he did it. So far, he owes you $750.
May I interject that he doesn't even own that car?
I don't care. I'm not giving him any money for the car. There's no proof you did anything to the car. Okay, I'm not going to get into filing a false ABC complaint with the sheriff, because he's not going to be able to prove to me that it's true other than by what he says are his own observations. He doesn't have anybody here who's under the age of 21 who's going to testify that you served him alcohol. So I'm not going to entertain that part of your claim. Money owed for slander, that I would like to see. That's the cross complaint. So far, plaintiff has $750 for painting 1/4 of the places that he was contracted to do.
This is the first document, and I had calls just pour in, wanting to know if I'd seen it. And
Just a second. Don't tell me you had calls pouring in, sir, because
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
hearsay. What's the date on this? This one that I'm reading. It says 1 day ago.
It was around the first couple of weeks of July.
Okay. I'd like you to tell me, Mr. Joyner, the conversation, where it took place and under what circumstances, when you had a conversation with Mr. Ricks about covering up certain hazards. I'd like to hear that.
What would you like to hear?
I'd like to hear where the conversation took place, exactly what you said to him and what he said to you.
Where it took place?
Yes, where it took place, exactly what you said to him and exactly what he said to you.
I'm confused. So, like, what is?
We are on now.
I know the post about
a post.
Yeah.
We're on now a post. So I want you to tell me when you had the conversation where you were and what you said to him, mostly what he said to you, about covering up certain things with paint.
Okay, yes, ma'am. So we were told to cover up holes and stuff with caulking and then paint over it. And then we were told that I was told to go declutter one of the units that had a bunch of old parquet tile, ceramic tiles piled high to the ceiling with old ceiling fans deteriorating.
That was the unit that was on site.
Right.
Go ahead.
Right.
And?
So he told me that
I want you to tell me the worst thing he told you to do in the apartment complex. Tell me the worst thing he told you to do.
There was a lot of terrible...
No. Just stop and think of what is the worst thing he told you to do, the worst instruction he gave you.
Pretty much that I should just do it without the proper protective...
No, that's general, sir.
Okay.
I asked you specific. You posted something about him, about his apartment complex, about the work that you were doing, and I want you to tell me the worst thing he told you to make short shrift of or to cover up.
Water damage, black mold.
Okay, let's go to black mold. When did you have a discussion with him about black mold? Where were you?
He told me to declutter the apartment. So that would be Wednesday, June.
So there was one apartment that he told you to declutter. Okay, and that would be June what?
Monday, June 27th. I think that's what that...
Was he there in person?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'd like you to tell me what he said to you and what you said to him.
Told me to go...
Look here.
Told me to declutter the unit, take out all of it, throw it away, and to just...
No, don't look over there.
Just to clean it, basically.
To clean it.
So that it would be ready to be painted.
And?
I did. I cleaned it.
And?
I'm done.
You done?
I don't know what else to say. That's...
Well, I want you to clean it. Doesn't tell me anything about black mold.
I don't know what you were wanting from me.
What I want you to do is to tell me what he told you about black mold. Don't make it up. Your post, based upon your testimony, was slanderous.
I got confused. I don't know what you were really trying to ask out of me.
I asked you specific questions. You gave me answers. Now is not the time to play catch up.
Defendant Christopher Ricks claims Noah Joyner and Harlan Hendrickson slandered his business on social media. Noah and Harlan say they were not paid for painting Christopher's apartment complex.
Now, tell me what he told you about black mold.
He didn't tell me anything about the black mold.
Great. And what did he tell you about rat feces?
Didn't tell me anything about rat feces. I handled all that stuff without
Shh. Then you did that all yourself. Well, in this posting you said, Chris, that would be you, wanted us to paint over chips, possible, dust, maybe, mold, never. He never told you that. That's what you just told me. Black mold, rat feces, and urine. He never told you to cover up those things. You may have done it, but according to you, he just said, clean it.
He had told me to cover up the mold that was in
I
the
don't
utility
believe that.
faucets of the apartment.
Oh, I don't believe that. In a second. That's Mr. Joyner.
Yeah, it was Mr.
No,
Joyner,
this is Mr. Joyner's
trying to communicate
post.
together.
And he never told him anything. According to him, he said, just clean it. You have the second post?
That one was taken down, and this is the second post that he reposted, and then his account got blocked because they don't allow that type of behavior. This is the next one, and this is where he claimed to be a bartender on Facebook, and he just took it down recently. It's been up there for months, and I never hired him for a bartender.
That's all right. I don't care. That's not important.
Okay.
What I'm concerned about is what he says that you told him to do, which you did not.
Right.
He acknowledges you did not. Now, you have no witnesses here.
I was going to bring one person, and she's got COVID.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. You have
yes,
no
I have
witnesses
no one.
here.
I have no one, Your Honor.
Very good. Okay. I find that the things that you posted are slanderous with regard to what he instructed you to do, Mr. Joyner. You were the posting person as far as covering up black mold, feces, and urine, and therefore to beware of Rick's Realty. Your post, based upon your testimony, was slanderous because he never told you that. So...
but you never really cleared that. I'm sorry. You never really cleared it up. I got confused. I don't know what you were really trying to ask out of me.
No, just a second.
It
I don't
was
care
told
what...
to me that I needed to take care of all that stuff and throw it away. Yes, ma'am. It was told to me that. That's why I posted. It was a warning as to so no one else would have to deal with that same stuff.
Very good. Very good. I'm ruling now. So now it's my time. I asked you specific questions. You gave me answers. Now is not the time to play catch up. I find that by posting that he instructed you to cover up black mold, people responded to actually, and rat feces, I don't know how you cover rat feces and urine with paint, and to stay away from his place of business without cause, because what you told me was, he told me to clean it up, that's slanderous. And so on the counterclaim that he has for slander, I am awarding him $2,750. That's a net to him of $2,000 because your claim of $750 for wages is absorbed by his counterclaim. So on your claim, you get zero, zippity-doo-dah. I'm awarding him $2,000 for slander. We're done here. Thank you very much.
What about the damages,
We
Your
are
Honor?
finished. Hire a professional, Mr. Riggs. You want a schmearer, that's what you get.
This court is adjourned.
Regardless of terminology and how things got messed up, why would you expect someone to clean up rat feces, all of this stuff, and do it for free?
It's clear no good deed goes unpunished. I tried to help those kids.
Don't understand any of this, really.
Well, they were trying to extort money from me and not do work and be lazy and just get paid for work they didn't do.
We're trying to move on.
We're going to move on.
You kind of try to give people chances when they're down on their luck. I've always been a philanthropist to try to help people out, and sometimes you get burned.
First of all, if you're an employee and you're working either by the hour or by the day, you're not a weekly employee or a bi-weekly salaried employee, you're supposed to keep track of the hours where you work, especially if you want to, if there is a potential of suing later for them.
As the plaintiff, that is your burden. I was interested to see that you were willing to take that information from the defendant, because if it were me, if the plaintiff didn't have it, that's not the defendant's burden to prove the plaintiff's case. So I knew you did it to sort of round out the sides of the case, but I think that if you as the plaintiff want to come here and ask the court for money, you better have your ducks in a row. And
well, that's true. That was true. That was probably an error for me. Not that he got anything, but
we got where we needed to go.
We got where we needed to go, but that's true. It's not the defendant's burden.
Yeah.
Although the defendant acknowledged that he worked for him.
He did. Very forthcoming and honest. So, but that again played better for the defendant, as we saw in the ruling, that he was professional.
You're supposed to have your ducks in a row.
Yes, and as a plaintiff, you don't get any money if you can't even keep track of the hours that you work.
The second thing is that the call to alcohol and beverage, if you'd feel as if you're doing a public service by reporting behavior that you think could be potentially dangerous, I support that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're doing it as a retaliatory act and you don't do it immediately, it's like reporting suspected child abuse.
Mm-hmm.
If you see a child being abused or neglected and you do nothing and wait a month until you have a fight with the person who is the abuser, that creates a suspicion that it's vindictive and there's a motive to lie.
Of course.
Because it wasn't done immediately.
And they sought another job from the same man after reporting him.
Right. To the defendant's detriment, in my eyes, is if you have a big apartment complex and you have guys who were in the jewelry business and didn't make it, then came to work for you in your theater and really weren't very good at that either, then I wouldn't hire them to house paint.
Yeah. That actually requires a skill.
Without any credentials. So I think that you have to be careful if you have a valuable piece of real estate.
Agreed.
Anyway, he can't slander him, and he did.
I think it all worked out how it was supposed to.
I hope so.
Kelly and Robert Burrows are suing their former friends, Marina and David Quadra, for illegal eviction and property damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everybody.
Hello, Judge. Case 2072, Burrows versus Quadra.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. and Mrs. Quadra, you were living in a home, in a house?
Correct, a townhome.
That you didn't own. And for how long had you been renting that home?
We did not rent out the home.
How long, if you didn't own it, then you were renting it?
We rented it for 2 years, Your Honor.
It gets scarier if you have a fixed position in your head so that you're not listening to my questions. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
When did your lease start?
July of 2020.
And when was it to terminate?
It was terminated August 1st, 2022.
And it was terminated by an eviction?
Correct.
And you were evicted because the landlord said that you sublet the apartment to these people and their family?
Correct.
And they were people who you knew, both in the military?
Just him.
What do you do?
I'm a federal employee.
And you?
I'm active duty, ma'am.
But you knew each other from work?
Correct.
Where did you move in August?
National City, Your Honor.
How far is that from your prior residence?
It's about 30 miles south, Your Honor.
Are you in a home that you own or that you rent?
We are still renting.
How much are you paying in rent?
$21.50 a month.
You have a signed lease?
We do.
When did that lease start?
August 1st, 2022.
And why did you choose to live in National City?
It is closer to where he is stationed.
It is also the...
Shh. Don't speak.
Yes, Your Honor.
How much closer?
To his job.
To his job?
It went from a 30-minute drive to a 15-minute drive.
Okay, so that's better.
Correct.
You were evicted. You were served a notice of eviction on what date?
They let us know a month before August. They gave us a 30-day notice.
Now, did the plaintiffs have any furniture in the home that you were evicted from?
Prior to us being evicted, yes.
Yes, prior to your being evicted. And what furniture did they have?
2 dressers and a bunk bed.
Anything else?
That's as far as furniture.
And what furniture did you have in there prior to being evicted?
A full living room.
And when did you move that out? On what date?
The 30th of July, 2 days before our moving date.
So you moved out all of your furniture?
Correct.
And how much were you paying in rent in the place from which you were evicted?
$25.95.
Oh, I didn't write that down. How much were you paying in the new place?
The place we are in now, $21.50.
So you're paying less rent?
Correct. It's substantially smaller.
And substantially closer to his place of employment?
Correct.
Good. Now, do you want to tell me your version of how they came to be living in your house?
We received a call one night. It was very late, 10 p.m. Robert was very upset, crying. He had nowhere to go.
He?
Correct. Robert had nowhere to go, and Kelly was asking for a divorce. He asked if he could crash on the couch. We have a toddler at home, so I asked him to sleep in our guest bedroom instead of the couch. Okay. He stayed that first original night, and the next day he needed to job hunt as he was jobless. We offered to watch his child. He looked for the job and came home. He asked us if he could stay for a while in that guest bedroom until he got onto his feet with the job. He offered money to just help out with utilities and
how much?
$1,000.
$1,000 a month?
No, just $1,000. And our words, when he had asked, and we asked him, how long do you think it will take you to get on your feet? It was just a couple weeks.
Okay, so he was offering $1,000.
Correct.
Which was 40% of your rent to stay for 2 weeks, to stay in your guest bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty decent. Did he give you the $1,000?
He did.
And he gave you the $1,000 on what date?
He gave us the $1,000 on May 29th.
And when did he start staying there?
He started staying with us May 21st.
Then what happened?
He stayed with us for about a week. Everything was okay. He job hunted. I helped with the child. Within this week, he...
Look at me.
I'm sorry. He confided in us that he wanted to work on his marriage with Kelly. He did not want the divorce. It was something that she had asked for. They wanted to work on it together and had asked if Kelly could come around to stay with him and the children and work on their marriage.
When he moved into the guest room, did he take the children? Did he have the children with him?
He did, but it was just on certain nights. They were sharing.
And then he asked if Kelly could come as well.
Correct.
The wife. And what did you say? Well, why couldn't he go home?
He could not go home due to their relationship with her parents. Their parents.
Oh, she was living with her parents.
Correct.
And they were both living with her parents.
Correct.
So he said, I can't go home. We want to work on the marriage. Could we come and stay here with you?
Correct.
They have 2 kids?
They have 3.
They have 3 kids. And how many dogs?
4.
4 dogs. So far, you get 4 stars if you let her come.
I wish it would have worked that way.
No. You don't understand that that's where I'm at so far.
Yeah, of course.
So now, May 29th, he gives you the $1,000. She moves in when with the dogs?
So we had a long trip planned to Vegas. We let them know that after we had left, she could come stay while we were gone.
What month? June?
June, correct.
How long were you away?
We were away for 5 to 6 days.
Well, what was he going to do when she came there with the 4 dogs, 3 kids after 6 days? What was the plan?
This was never a plan of, here's a lease agreement you are going to rent from us. It was just that I need somewhere to stay. Can they please come for this short period of time until we figure this out?
Great. Okay, now let me hear your version of the events. When you went to stay there with your children, you were having trouble with your wife.
That's incorrect.
Incorrect. What I said was, because I believe her. I believe that you called her and said exactly what she said. She told me. I mean, I didn't have to have Whitney read it back. I believe that that's what you said. So I don't want to hear baloney about school districts. You were having trouble with your wife.
And later today.
You can't have it both ways.
It's a complicated case.
It's not complicated. It's very simple. You didn't have a written contract. If you had an oral contract, that's one thing.
Kelly and Robert Burrows claim their former friends, Marina and David Quadra, owe for an illegal eviction. Marina and David are countersuing, saying Kelly and Robert caused them to be evicted.
So when you went to their house and you wanted to work on your marriage, you could have gone back to your in-laws.
Yes, that's correct.
You could have. Why didn't you?
The reason why we decided to split up was because we're trying to keep our kids in the same school district. So with having 4 dogs, that's impossible to keep in an HOA. So she decided to go with her parents. I decided to stay back to finish the school year with the kids, still being in May, so they can finish in the same school district. That's why I decided I needed a mailing address so that they could stay in the same school district.
So you mean this discussion that she just said to me about you having problems, marital problems with your wife, that never happened?
Irrelevant. It's just...
No, that's not what I said. What I said was, because I believe her. I believe that that's what happened. I believe that you called her and said exactly what she said. She told me. I mean, I didn't have to have Whitney read it back. I believe that that's what you said. So I don't want to hear baloney about school districts. You were having trouble with your wife.
No, ma'am.
No.
No.
And you didn't tell her that.
We had been moved out of our old place of 6 years in El Cajon, and we were trying for 6 months to find a new place. So yes, it does put a lot of stress on a relationship. but we did not have any marital.
Mr. Burrows, you know what my strong suit is, and there's no question that the cameras just caught your face. My strong suit is being able to spot a lie from a mile away. And I'm telling you that there's no question that you called her late at night and said, I'm having trouble with my wife. She asked me for a divorce. Can I come and stay with you? There's no question that whether it was true or not, I don't know, because clearly you're a liar. So maybe it wasn't true, but that's what you told her.
Your Honor, may I speak?
You want me to call your parents?
Please do.
Would you like me to call your parents? I'm just asking you, would you like me to call your parents?
No.
Of course not. That's an easy thing for me to do.
Part of what was going on was that we lived in our home for 6 years, and the homeowners had moved back in, and so they asked us to leave, and we had been actively searching for a home. So yes, it did put a bit of a strain on our marriage, and I took my dogs with me so that I can keep my operating business at my parents' house, because I am a dog boarder, dog sitter, and I did not want to shut my business down. And during this time, tensions, little things happening at my parents' house. So I said, you need to go see if you can rent a room or find somebody that can help you in the meantime till we can actively keep searching for a place for our family. We tried 5 different homes and we didn't.
I don't care. What I said to your husband was he lied to me. Because there's no question that he called, and whether it was true or not, that he said to your friends, I need a place to go. Do you have a place that I could stay on the couch? There's no question he said that to her.
That is true. Yes, that is true.
Okay. Well, then I want you to introduce your husband to the truth.
Is it true?
It's something that he hasn't met, because that's not what he told me what happened.
Correct.
So that was a mistake of his. That was a mistake. And you know what happens when you lied to me once? Your case is dismissed. Because what you're suing for is being evicted, and you go, blah, 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 emotional distress. You lie to me once, your case is dismissed. Now, we're going to come over here. You have a counterclaim. Your counterclaim is money owed for property damage.
Correct.
And for damages for eviction. Because what happened was your landlord evicted you because she comes with her 4 dogs, 3 gerbils, 2 parakeets to your house, and the owner of your condo doesn't want her any more than the owner of their last condo.
Of course.
Didn't want them. Got to save your money, buy your own house so you can have as many dogs and parakeets as you like. You moved into a place that's nicer?
Absolutely not.
Tell me what the papers said when your landlord notified you of the eviction. Do you have them?
We do.
I'd like to take a look at them.
Yes, no problem. There was also in that piece of paper a $250 fine through our HOA from the whole commotion that he caused the day of asking them to leave.
Just a second, you were a month-to-month tenant?
Correct.
You didn't have a lease for 2 years. You were a month-to-month tenant?
We had a year lease, and then when the year was up, we moved month to month.
They didn't evict you?
No, they just gave us, they asked us.
Just a second. Your lawsuit is for damages, punitive damages for an eviction. You weren't evicted.
Well, we were asked to leave if we...
No, they just decided not to renew your month-to-month lease.
Due to the...
I don't care what it was due to. Listen, if I owned a property and you let 3 kids, 4 dogs moved into my condo for 6 days, I wouldn't renew your lease on a month-to-month basis either. I don't care whether they were there for 2 days, 4 days, a week, or a month. You understand?
Understood.
Okay, so there was no eviction. So the punitive damages for that, forget it. Money owed for property damage. When they moved out, what did they damage? And how much did it cost you?
There was a hole in the molding from moving the dressers down our stairs. They bonked it, bringing it out angrily because they were mad that we asked them to leave. We have the letters from our landlord stating everything that they had to deduct from our deposit.
Just a second, a hole in the wall. And how much was the hole in the wall?
The molding was...
No, just look at the paper and tell me how much was the hole in the wall.
The painting was $180 and the molding repair was $200.
How? Did you damage the molding when you were moving a dresser out of the house?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, not that you're aware of. You want to try the truth now? Was there a hole that you created moving a dresser out of the house?
When David and I were moving our dresser over the stairs, down the stairs.
Who's David?
The defendant.
So you were moving out the dresser with him? Careful, introducing you to the truth. Did you move the dresser with him?
I did help move the furniture
Your case is dismissed. The counterclaim likewise is dismissed. We're done. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I take it as a win. The initial suit was them against us. Their suit got dismissed.
We lost a lot of things and a lot of wages.
That was just us being good friends. We definitely learned our lesson. We will never help another crying husband on our doorstep claiming divorce again.
People that are offering to be nice to you in times of need don't charge you.
They kind of cried, oh, marriage and divorce the whole time, knowing that we're young and married. It's something we take seriously in our lives.
And we're still trying to build our lives back.
I should actually make a party to introduce all those people to Mr. Truth.
I agree.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mismatch. Doesn't make sense. If you're going to stay with a friend for a few days, you don't bring a bunk bed and 2 dressers.
No.
I've stayed with friends for a couple days, long weekend. You bring a bag with some clothes.
Even with your kids.
Yeah, you don't bring furniture. You don't bring any of that. So there's a lot of discrepancies.
Things that didn't make sense. If it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true.
Agreed.
Dog breeder Kenneth Bearden is suing his customer, Zach Thompson, for the balance of a puppy.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2044, Bearden versus Thompson.
Mr. Bearden.
Yes, Your Honor.
It is your claim that the defendant owes you the balance of a dog that you sold to him.
Correct, Your Honor.
That's what the case is about. Defendant says he doesn't really think he got what he bargained for, and while he has no intention of returning the dog to you, he doesn't want to pay the balance.
Yes.
Be a yes. So I have a couple of questions, because it's not a terribly difficult case. You say in your complaint that you are a breeder of full-blood tricolor bullies.
Correct. Bully breed, American bullies, and these are tricolor American bullies, which have 5 different distinctions within the American bully breed realm.
I don't want you to try to confuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
Any more than I'm confused about this.
Yes, ma'am.
Is an American bully a pit bull?
No, I have proof.
Shh. It is not.
It is not.
What is it a combination of?
Yes, it is a combination of.
Well, I know it's a combination of, but it's been recognized by the American Kennel Club as an independent breed of dog. But that is only recently. What is the American bully a combination of?
Honestly, can I read what I have?
No, if you say I don't, listen to me.
Yeah,
I know it's very, very hard for
Yeah.
men to say 3 words. I don't know. Somehow they can say, I love you, I hate you, get out of my parking space, you're snoring. They can say a whole bunch of things, but they have trouble saying those 3 words.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know.
I fully own that. Yes, ma'am.
I
don't know.
Don't know. Well, Sarah, look it up.
Will do.
American bully.
Says that originally standardized and recognized as a breed in 2004 by the American Bully Kennel Club.
2004. Mm-hmm. So if it's recognized a breed in 2004, it's got to be a mix of something.
So the American Bully was started by crossing the American Pit Bull Terrier with other dogs in the Bully breed family, and sometimes dogs outside of the Bully breed family. But it's become its own breed.
It's become its own breed, but started with the American Pit Bull. That's what that says. Do you want her to read it again?
So there's also bully dogs are descendants from the crosses between ancient bulldogs and a variety of British terriers. And this says an American bully was started by the crossing of the American Pit Bull Terrier with dogs in the other bully breed family.
And ultimately, it was recognized as a breed unto itself, although I don't understand how that could happen. If you're a cross between one breed, the American Pit Bull, and a variety of other dogs, you know, that's like a golden doodle. That's like a golden retriever and a poodle. Isn't that what a golden doodle is?
I believe so.
But it's not a breed unto itself. It's a cross between a couple of dogs, so it takes many years. And this sounds to me, at least, Mr. Bearden, as the bullies that you're describing that you breed, the genesis of that breed is an American Pit Bull with a variety of other things. Could be a boxer.
It could also, like the father, it could be a Rottweiler. Like the father of the puppies that he got, he has all the markings of a Rottweiler, but he has the head shape and body style that represents more of the Pit Bull style.
So that's information that I am now at least a little armed with. So now I'm going to come back to you. You're the breeder. And you said the puppies, that the litter that you sold Tim, one of the puppies, has Rottweiler in it.
No, I'm not saying that it has Rottweiler. I'm saying that the physical representation of it, the markings, the brown over the eyes, the brown hair, that's what the dad looks like. The puppies don't look like that.
Just a second. So you bred the dogs. What breed is the father?
The father is American Bully. He's considered an XL American Bully.
The father is an American Bully. In the father's history, it appears, based upon the look of the dog, is this what I'm understanding?
Yes.
It's a Rottweiler. In the history of the dog.
Yeah, it could possibly, yes. That's why he looks like that now,
It
yes.
could possibly be a gerbil, but a gerbil doesn't have distinctive markings. What you're telling me is the dog has the distinctive markings of a Rottweiler, but the body of a pit bull.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, what a combo.
He's beautiful. He's a beautiful dog.
They're beautiful dogs. Both of those dogs, by the way, will not be covered by most insurance policies. Pit bulls and Rottweilers. You do know that?
Yes.
Say yes loud.
Yes, yes, I know that, yes.
Okay. Did you know that?
I did not.
Well, it's interesting. Do you own your own home?
Yeah.
Yes is an answer.
Yes.
Do you have homeowners insurance?
Yes.
In your application for homeowners insurance, they would ask you what kind of dog you have, if you have any. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Did you write down what kind of a dog you had?
I didn't have a dog at the time.
I want you to read over your homeowner's policy, wherever you live. Who are you covered by?
Not exactly sure.
What do you mean not certain? You don't know who your homeowner's policy is with?
It's all in the bill.
What
It's all paid for, one yearly fee.
You mean for your car, for your home,
Yes.
everything else? I would check, sir. If you own your own home, did you have a lot invested in your home?
Yes.
I would take a look, because many insurance companies now will not insure or charge an extra premium, if they would insure, homes that have, as part of their household, certain breeds of dogs. I am telling you, and he knows it, that pit bulls and Rottweilers are in that group.
Yep.
So if something happens and your dog bites somebody and they will sue you, and you'll say, well, I have homeowners insurance, your policy might just disclaim.
That's why I didn't want a pit bull.
What do you think you got?
A pit bull.
You got an American Bully, and it's not so hard to look up. You do have a tablet or something?
A bully, when you look it up, it actually is American Bulldog and a Stanford Terrier. It's
Well,
not,
an American Bulldog and a Staffordshire Terrier. You know what Staffordshire Terrier is.
yeah.
What is it?
I mean, it's a pit bull.
Right, that's what it is. Everybody tries to use different language because they want to get away from that. It's a bully, it's a terrier, it's a something else. But bottom line, that's what it is. And you know that's what it is, whether it's a half or a quarter. You know it's listed among those breeds that the insurance company is not going to cover you for. And you have knowledge of that. You got to be careful. So it was your understanding that you were purchasing from the plaintiff a what?
A full 100% bully.
There's no 100% bully. There is no 100% bully. You just told me a bully is a mix between a...
After so long, it's considered a full bully. That's from my understanding.
That's not what that says. It says, among other things. You really have to be more vigilant. Don't tell me what your friends told you. Don't tell me what they did. Don't tell me what they said. He told you that he was selling you an American Bully.
Dog breeder Kenneth Bearden claims his customer, Zach Thompson, owes for the balance of a puppy. Zach says he did not receive the full-blooded American Bully he purchased.
Okay, tell me when and under what circumstances Mr. Thompson purchased this puppy from you.
Yes, Your Honor. On April 28th, the defendant reached out to me. He was stating his name. Sorry. He was stated his name and that his daughter was playing with the puppy of a friend of his, and that friend of his had bought one of the puppies from my litter. She fell in love with the dog. She loved it. He wanted to come by and possibly get another puppy.
How old's your daughter?
7.
If I could do that thing that some people do and, cross their eyes on purpose, I would do that for you. Now, is this your only child?
Yes.
Okay.
After he reached out to me, we exchanged numbers and spoke for a few days over Facebook Messenger. I gave him my number. We had a conversation on the phone about prices, about the breed, and payments, because he reached out to me originally stating that, hey, I don't have that full amount that you would be asking for.
Just a second. Could I see text messages where you've discussed the price?
Yes, ma'am.
And where you agreed on a price?
No, that was, so we agreed on a price verbally. The text messages is where I sent him my number. Right after I sent him my number, that's when we had the conversation about prices and payments.
Let me see what you...
Yes, ma'am. Do you want text messages and the Facebook messages?
Yeah.
Okay. It's
read any.
quite a bit. It's all in order from front to back. From
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Just about the price of the dog, please.
Well, like I said, Your Honor, the price of the dog was a verbal conversation.
I understand that. The initial discussion that you had with him, you told him what you wanted for the dog.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Mrs. Thompson, and you wrote, I told him I would even take the runt if you're willing to help me get a puppy for my daughter, right? Okay. How old was the puppy when the puppy was delivered to Mr. Thompson?
They were right at 2 months and 2 weeks, I believe.
So about 10 weeks old.
Yeah, they were born February 20th. This was May 1st when they were.
Do you have a contract with him other than over the phone?
When he came there that morning?
It's just that's either a yes or a no.
No.
You do not have a written contract.
The only contract that we have is of him giving me his ID, letting me take a picture of it because I didn't have any printer ink at the time.
You don't have a contract with him?
No.
Are you a married guy?
No, Your Honor.
Yeah. You know, how did I know that? Because you talk a lot. Most married guys don't talk so much. They answer 2 or 3 words, and that's it. Wow. Do you live alone?
Yes, it's just me and my son.
How old is your son?
He's 12.
And how many of these dogs do you have roaming around?
I have 2.
Okay. Mr. Thompson, the plaintiff delivered the dog to you. You had no written contract with him. You just agreed to take the dog at a certain price, correct?
Correct.
He agreed to sell you the dog, and you discussed he got this much with papers, this much without, but he was willing to work with you without papers, correct?
Yes, correct.
So you were getting a dog without AKC papers for how much?
$500.
$500.
$100 down.
Just a sec. What?
$100 down and then $100 every 2 weeks until it was paid off.
So you gave him the $100?
Yes.
And then you never paid him any more?
Well, before the next payment was even there, I questioned him about being a full bully, because everybody kept telling me it wasn't a full bully because I have multiple friends that...
Don't tell me what your friends told you. Don't tell me what they did. Don't tell me what they said. He told you that he was selling you an American bully.
Yep.
Without papers.
Yes.
So that you weren't going to use this dog for any breeding purposes.
Yes, they planned.
Because you don't have papers, and that would be sort of foolish for you.
Yeah.
Did your daughter fall in love with the dog? Got the dog that she wanted, right?
Yeah,
a little female called
Zoe.
Zoe.
Yeah, she picked her out.
Your Honor,
and she just
I disagree with that also.
What?
When he originally arrived that morning, he was trying to get a different dog. He wanted a certain one.
Just a second. Your daughter picked this dog out.
Yeah.
Correct.
You disagree with that?
The daughter and him both wanted a different dog at first.
We had our mind set on a certain puppy before we got there. When we showed up, the puppy that we wanted was getting taken by another people that she...
So your daughter picked another puppy?
Yes, yes.
Correct.
Let's not make this harder than it is. She picked the one that she was happy with.
Yeah.
And she's still happy with it.
Yep.
And she likes it.
Yes.
You wouldn't take it away from her.
No, I would not.
You wouldn't give it back to him.
No, I would not.
Then you have to pay for it.
Well, I would have.
What is so hard about that?
Well, he lied about the shots. He never sent me proof for the first
Just a
shots.
second. You have a contract. That's if you're going to pay. He says $750. You say $500. Whether it's $750 or $500, what you're supposed to have if you're a breeder is a written contract. If that's what you do, you have a written contract. I always have a contract when I buy puppies. The breeders, reputable breeders, demand it. They say that they guarantee the health of the puppy for a certain period of time. You can take the dog to have it checked by a vet within a certain period of time. It says whether the puppy had its first shots or second shots or had no shots. It says all that. That's it. Other than that, I don't remember what these contracts said, but I bought many, and they are pretty much standard. Yeah. You bought a dog for either $750 or $500 that you didn't pay for, and now you have a bunch of excuses. Did you take the dog to a vet and have the dog tested as to its heritage?
I have not.
Well, then you can't tell me what your friend said to you. Whether your friend said that looks like, it doesn't look like, I don't know what it looks like. That's not relevant. If he's saying to you, this is an American bully, And you've had the dog professionally tested, the DNA of that dog tested, and it turns out that it's a cacophony of things, which clearly it is because it's a mix of things. What do you have to pay for the dog? You ate the steak. You don't want to give it back. The only question is, how much did you make an arrangement to pay? You say it was $750.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is you have any paperwork to show that?
I do not, Your Honor. Like I said, when he left, I have them contracts. I didn't have any more printer ink. He had to leave and be somewhere else. That's when I asked to go ahead and take a picture of his ID, and I plan to get the contract at a later date.
Mr. Thompson,
Yes.
was he originally asking for $1,000 for the dog?
He never originally asked me for $1,000.
No, but is that what your friend paid for his dog?
I don't know what my friend paid for the dog, but I know that he was having trouble selling him, so he marked down the price. I have a Facebook post where he actually, on his own Facebook, before I'd even...
Oh, do you have what?
I don't have it printed out. I have it on my phone. I'm willing to give
Oh, yeah, I'd like to see it. Does it list a price on it?
It's don't have a price. It just talks about where he's willing to sell them and work with people on deals and stuff because he couldn't sell them this before I even met the guy.
Okay, well, so do you acknowledge that you posted that, sir? That you were willing to make deals with people because you were having difficulty getting rid of the puppies? You're going to pay him the balance of $400 now because you have the dog. Do you understand? A bully isn't a full-bred dog. A bully has a lot of other things in it. Do you understand?
Dog breeder Kenneth Bearden is accusing his customer, Zach Thompson, of refusing to pay the balance on an American Bully puppy. Zach says he didn't receive the purebred he was promised and tried to return the dog.
And do you acknowledge that you posted that, sir? That you were willing to make deals with people because you were having difficulty getting rid of the puppies?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, I'd like to see his...
Make it a little brighter.
Because you say here that you usually sell them $2,000 with papers and $1,000 without.
Yes.
Okay.
And my Facebook...
Just a second.
Yes, Your Honor.
5 pups left and needing good homes. These are full-blooded American tricolor bullies. Please help us find them homes. I'm willing to negotiate and rediscuss price payment at any point. Okay, so you're willing to work with anybody?
Exactly.
Okay, so when you had a conversation with him, tell me what price you arrived at.
We arrived at $750. And when we spoke, he told me that he would give me $100 every week. And also in our text messages, it also states where he mentioned if his taxes came, he would pay me in full.
Okay, but you talked about pay $100 every week.
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
In my messages, there's a few times where I reference $500, and he never says, well, it's $750, not $500.
Okay, can I see those?
Yeah.
I'd like to see them.
In that message...
No, just.
And we also talked...
Just give me the message.
Okay. Here's the one that states 500 right here.
Yeah, I believe that the price you negotiated was $500 because the only one of the litigants that has any messages, that has any number in it, is the defendant, who talks, at least on 2 occasions, of the fact that he doesn't want to pay $500 for a mixed breed dog. And there's nothing in it that says, sir, it wasn't $500, it was $750. You gave me $100, so you still owe me $650. That's what the response should have been, and you didn't do that, sir. So
I would have had no problem paying him the $500 if it was a full bully. No problem at all.
You're going to pay him the balance of $400 now because you have the dog.
Okay.
Do you understand? A bully isn't a full-bred dog. A bully has a lot of other things in it. Do you understand?
Well,
and you want to keep the dog.
No, I wanted to bring the dog back. He said I could bring the dog back, and then he wrote back and said, okay, I could bring it back.
I just asked you a question. You want me to have her read it back to me? You just said...
I don't want to bring the dog back now.
Well, now is what we're talking about. Now is where we are.
It's 4 or 5 months now my daughter has fell in love, but the first 10 days, I did ask to bring it back. He said, okay.
Right now, we're not in the first 10 days. Right now, we're here. I asked you a question. Do you want to give him the dog back?
If that's what it takes, yes.
You ready to take the dog back?
I do not want to. Once we sold the animal,
Well, if he says that there is no proof that this litter was a full-blooded American bully, and you have the American Kennel Club records that show that it is, because you must have registered the litter. That's what happens, Mr. Bearden, when you have a full-blooded dog. You register the litter, and then if you're selling it with papers, the new owner will register the dog with the AKC in their name. So all you have to do now is show me the registration for that litter. No, that's either a show me or I don't have it.
I do not have that, Your Honor. Because there was no reason. That's why the puppies were $2,000 with papers and $1,000 without. There's no reason going the extra mile. That's why they have the $2,000 option of me taking that headache off their shoulder.
No. That's a lot of who shot John, sir. If you are a breeder, that's what you identify yourself as. I am a breeder of.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay? And clearly you are a breeder of because he saw puppies from another litter of yours, which drove him and his daughter to contact you.
Yes, Your Honor.
So if you're a breeder, you register that litter so that if you want to sell it, a puppy with papers, you've already registered that litter. Either you can use it or not. Do you understand what I'm saying? You would know exactly what I'm saying,
That's
Mr.
the
Beard.
normal process of things,
Okay.
yes.
And right now, Mr. Thompson, at this point, I agree that you agreed to pay $500 for the dog and gave him a $100 deposit.
Yes.
Which means you owe him $400.
He said I could bring the dog back at one point because I wanted to bring the dog back because I didn't think it was the dog I wanted.
I'm talking about now.
Yes, I know, but and then
he said no.
And then he said no 2 days later, and then he said he's going to take me to court, or he threatened me and said he's going to have someone come get the money out of me if not. And then that's when I stopped responding. After he threatened me, I stopped responding. And that was before our first initial payment. That was within the first 10 days, and it wasn't even in the 14 days yet when I was going to make my payment.
Did you pay him?
No, I didn't.
$100?
I paid him $100, yes.
Yes, I'm talking about $100.
Yes, I did.
So what do you want me to do today? Either.
I don't think he deserves nothing. He lied about the breed.
No.
He never sent me shots.
No.
He lied about those.
Yeah, just a second.
And then he threatened me.
Do you want to return the dog to him, or do you want to pay him the $400?
I'll return the dog to him.
Fine. He's returning the dog to you.
And
You understand?
I paid all the vet bills.
Just a second.
Vet bills.
I don't care, but I will prepare an order that within 5 days of today, you will deliver the dog back. He delivered the dog to you?
No, I went to his house, picked it up.
You went to his house? Great. How far do you live from each other?
30 minutes, probably.
Is there a police precinct in the middle? Because I don't want this done at anybody's house. What police precinct is closest to you, sir?
It'd be Bullitt County Police Department.
That's where you will meet 5 days from today. What's a good time for you?
4 p.m., 5 p.m.
What's a good time for you?
Whenever.
4 o'clock.
Yeah. 4
o'clock.
Yes, Your Honor.
Fine. We'll prepare an order, give it to you. You meet at the precinct and exchange the dog.
Will he pay me from what I gave him?
He'll give you back the $100.
What about all the vet bills?
That you eat.
Okay.
Got it?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's the order. That's what he wants.
Sounds good.
Let him go explain it to his daughter. Perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Better than him winning.
This court is adjourned.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly I'm going to do moving forward.
I didn't feel like I got the dog that I wanted.
I never made a threat to him, never did anything like that. I told him that I would take him to court.
There was definitely a better dog out there.
I'm an honest, hardworking man, and I deserve what he's supposed to pay to me.
So I was so confused because as I'm looking for where it comes from, because I know it's not a purebred, it said the American Bully is a great family dog because although bred from pit bulls, which sometimes have an aggressive tendency,
Bagaimana? ਨਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਖਾਣ ਨਹੀਂ ਆ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਚ ਕੈਮਰਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਖੋਲਦੇ ਹੈ ਸ਼ਗਰ ਚੌਕ ਤੇ ਆ ਕੇ ਕੈਮਰਾ ਖੋਲ ਕੇ ਕਿੰਨੂੰ ਵੱਜੀ ਹੈ ਭਾਈ ਫਜ਼ਾਨ ਗੁੱਡ ਡੇ ਗੁੱਡ Oi.